Welcome back, dude and dudettes, to another wild episode of Send It Mate. We're here to talk about all things hunting and outdoors. And today, we've got something that'll keep your gear running smoother than a dingo's getaway.
That's right. Our show is brought to you by High Caliber, the gun and knife oil company that knows how to keep your firearms and blades in tip-top shape.
High Caliber is like the secret sauce for hunters, anglers, and outdoorsy folk everywhere. It's like the magic potion that makes your gun and knives happier than a dog with two tails.
You know, guys, I've been using High Caliber oil for a while now, and let me tell you, it's the duck's nuts. My rifle practically sings a lullaby when I take it out hunting.
And speaking of lullabies, ever tried sneaking up on a deer with a squeaky gun? It's a prime way to end up with no venison in the freezer. You'll be hungrier than a vegan at a bacon festival.
Absolutely. But with High Caliber oil, your gun will be quieter than a ninja in moonlight. You'll be stalking your prey with the grace and stealth of a mountain lion.
High Caliber doesn't just keep things quiet, it also prevents rust and corrosion, so you won't find your gear looking like it spent a season at the bottom of a creek.
That's right, and for you knife enthusiasts out there, High Caliber has got you covered too. Your trusty blade will slice through anything smoother than butter on a hot biscuit.
So, folks, don't let your gear become a rusty, squeaky mess. Head on over to highcaliber.com.au and grab a bottle of their oil today.
And if you use the code SENDITMATE at checkout, you'll get a special discount. I say again, use the code SENDITMATE for all your oil slick, stealthy hunting needs.
Thanks to High Caliber, you'll be sending it in style and silence.
So, gear up, oil up, and send it, mate. High Caliber, the ultimate oil for the ultimate hunter.
Yellow.
Oh, wow. Is that the first thing that people want to hear?
Yeah.
Nah, everyone's sick of Ryan. I'm convinced now. You look at our Instagram
Fuck,
this week.
everyone's talking about me though, man.
They are.
Not in a good light, but at least they're talking. You know what they say? Any news is good news, bro.
I was about
Lap
to
it up
say
while
that.
you can, sunshine.
Yeah.
15 minutes
I
of
don't know.
fame.
I don't pay attention. Almost everyone knows that I go on Instagram maybe once a month, and even then, you know.
Once a month, generous.
You go absent.
I do. I go dark for a little bit.
Anyway, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Send It Mate podcast. I'm Caleb,
I'm Josh.
And I am Ryan.
and we've got another special guest this week. Ryan, whilst you've been absent from social media, have you come across our next guest on the socials?
I have actually. Yeah.
You actually have.
I have.
Wow, there you go.
No, I have.
That's saying something. All right, without further ado, our guest this week is Tash. How you going, Tash?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're going all right. Now, Tash, we've been following you on Instagram for a while and had a bit of a chat back and forth. So we thought it'd be a good chance to have a chat and see what you're passionate about tonight. And I guess we're just eager to sort of get a bit of a different perspective tonight, whether that's, you know, the female perspective on a few different things or just some sort of different content to mix it up, because we've been talking a lot about hunting and fishing and sort of blokey stuff. So, yeah, it will be a good chat, I reckon. There's plenty of stuff that you're passionate about that you've given us a little preview on.
22, man. You can't just, it's not blokey stuff, it's people stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
man.
all right.
Oh, Jesus.
For all you know, it could be two blokes and a woman on this podcast.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Don't assume gender.
That's right. Don't assume my gender
Well,
or Josh's.
It's a spectrum, I believe, Ryan. All right,
I've got a lot to learn.
all right, Tash. Well, we'll get to know you a bit. Now, I've got the 10 questions in front of me, so we'll kick away. Where are you from?
You ask as she's drinking.
So I was born in Brisbane, and I just moved around. We moved around a lot as a kid, so I just lived all up and down the east coast, like North Queensland, all the way through down to Victoria, and just changed a lot of schools and just always been sort of on the move. That was just, I guess, a lifestyle that we had. So, yeah, I find it very hard to claim where I'm from, because I just feel like I come from everywhere, but I don't come from anywhere all at the same time.
Fair enough. Is that just through your parents' work, having to move around, or?
Yeah. So Dad was worked in earth moving, like in construction and that, and sort of you just go where the new contracts are, really, and was the foreman of that. So we just moved around quite a bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
How'd you go with that, moving around so much as a kid? Because I just imagine it being a bit difficult. I mean, depending on how often you're moving. Like, do you think that sort of helped shape who you are today, or?
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely do. I think it builds a bit of resilience, and you just learn to, I guess, just sort of not fit in with the crowd. I would definitely not describe myself as anyone that fits in with the crowd, but I think you just learn a lot of people skills and from a young age, and just that resilience, and also how to be by yourself, which I think is a really important life skill to be comfortable in your own company.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You definitely have to be happy with yourself before you can be happy in other ventures, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. What's your favourite food?
Steak. Yeah.
Have you tried deer? Have you tried venison?
Yeah, I have had a bit of deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind gamey meats, not at all. I'm not a picky eater. Like, I eat whatever's put on the table. And gamey meats are good, and we sort of had a lot of just random stuff when we were kids as well. And
What's the weirdest meat that you've had? Like, out there. I'm sorry, I worded that terribly. I worded that really, really badly.
Yeah.
What is the most exotic animal that you've
like
eaten?
my army side was like,
Yeah, I know, right? That's all right, should I say something? You can say whatever you want. You can feel free to hang shit and whatever we say. That's fine. What is like the weirdest animal that you've eaten? It's probably a better way of wording that. My apologies.
what did we get? What did the chef bloody make in Canada? I got to try moose jerky.
Oh,
Goose jerky. Fuck, that's a lot of jerky that comes out of those things.
It's a lot of everything that comes out of those things.
Everything's so big.
Yeah, and that's kind of cool, because like where I was in Canada for the time was like an Indian reserve. So anything like that, like even to have salmon out of the river, you need like the local nations people's permission to touch anything like that or to shoot anything like that. So yeah, an Indian mate of mine that was off the reserve that was near the property that I was working at. Yeah, he just brought it, and it was pretty cool.
What did it taste like?
Just gamey, I guess, a little bit.
Gamey?
Yeah, just gamey, but it was fine. Like, you could definitely just take a bag and happily eat that.
Did you try any bear while you were over there?
No, I don't think I did, but I do know that bear is super dependent. Eating that is super dependent on the season that you've killed the bear, because bears are just opportunistic eaters. Mm-hmm. So if you kill a bear on a salmon run, or even at the tail end of a salmon run, and they're literally just picking up like rotting carcasses of sockeye and stuff and just eating rotting meat, their flesh apparently is just disgusting. But in the earlier season, before the salmon runs on, like when they're coming out of their hibernation, and there's lots of berries around, they literally just eat berries, and apparently that's when their meat is like tastes the best. So
yep,
interesting.
Like feedlot cattle, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's the same with cattle, grain fed, grass fed. Yeah.
all right, well, I think we'll come back around to your time in Canada a bit later on. We're pretty eager to hear about that. What was your first job, Tash?
I worked at a local cafe to support my fucking horse habit. So.
Yeah, that's right. She's a horsey girl.
Yeah.
As in she rides them. She's not into dressing up like them.
No, we don't do that around here.
Yeah, it's expensive hobby, isn't it? Was that because you owned a few yourself then, or you were around your parents?
Well, I didn't even get one until I was like 15, and we moved out onto a property, and I got this arthritic old cutting horse with hock issues, and so of course, like every paycheck I ever made was like buying this horse all these fucking things to just like make him more comfortable. And I don't know how much I spent on a very cheap horse, but it's like literally the story of my life. Like, yeah, so I did that for a while, and then worked at a service station after that before I went to uni.
Oh, very good. What'd you study?
I started studying a Bachelor of Science.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know what that
details,
means.
yeah.
What's a Bachelor of Science? Is it like, I think, isn't science lots of stuff?
What were you planning on taking it into, basically?
Like, I'll give you one guess where I'm like into the horse world, or maybe into veterinary. So I didn't quite get the like the end of the year. I can't remember what they're fucking called anymore. It's that long ago. I'm so old, but I didn't quite make it into vet, so I made it into a Bachelor of Science. So if I had done my first year good enough, I could have moved over possibly into veterinary, or just maintain and do like major in in equine science.
Mm-hmm.
And
so it's like
and I got like halfway
lead-in.
through that. Hey,
It's like a lead-in like course. Is that because that makes more sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I get you.
yeah, it's like a foundation bachelor thing, Bachelor of Science. You can kind of spear off into like a bunch of different things from that, really. But yeah, it's usually paired with another degree. And then I just figured out that I was going to be a really overqualified, very in debt stable hand, and I was like, probably not a good idea. Like, I'm pretty great at making really terrible financial decisions, but this is a really bad one. So I cut it away.
Sounds like someone in this room with us right now.
Yeah, they're both looking at me going, yeah, sounds like you, mate. Yeah. It's all right. Leave it alone.
That's the way.
Yeah,
That's
the
the way.
ones.
Yeah, it's all an experience. You just
Exactly
chalk
right.
it up to experience, right?
That's right. That's exactly what it is. I've had lots of experiences.
So you might be an overqualified like stable hand, but you got to think you'd still be like earning all that money and putting it straight to the horses. So but even if you're a vet, it'd just be all going back into your horses. So you're not really getting anywhere with it.
Just more expensive horses.
Yeah, yeah. It's a vicious world, the horse world. Like, it's just money in, and nothing comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you become a millionaire in horses?
Start off as a billionaire.
Yeah, that's the answer. I thought you were serious, and I was like, yeah, actually, how do we do this? Like, what's going on?
No.
Let's become millionaires. Nope.
Having said that, that's the same with shooting. You go down a rabbit hole with shooting, and you end up just spending way too much money. Most people.
Tash, I'm the cheapskate out of all of us. I just don't spend money. Well, let me rephrase that. I spend money on the wrong things, and then I find the cheapest thing that I can to replace that. And I've got a bit of a reputation. So if anything has ever been referenced about like saving money or being a cheapskate, I'm the guy that gets all the fingers pointed at as well.
So your four-wheel drive covered in all the King stuff?
Yeah, fuck yeah. I got the King's drawer, like everything. Yeah.
Spotties. Fucking.
Yeah, King Spotties. I got them sitting over there. That's me. That's right.
Yeah, he hasn't even put the spotlights on.
Because I haven't bought an antenna yet.
Because he doesn't have the bolts to put it on.
Radio. I haven't got the bolts. I haven't got the saddles. It's all right. I'm saving.
Then you got to find the guy to pay a carton to actually put them in.
Yeah, that's right. No, he's sitting across from me.
It's 3 cartons, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan cheaps out to support his habit of impulse buying slightly less cheap shit,
Yeah.
but it's still shit.
That's a very good way of putting it.
Dear. Anyway.
Anyway,
On that note, though, how much was the first horse that you bought, just out of interest?
So, like, I'm also a cheapskate, and see, the cool thing is about horses, right? Is you can, I mean, if you're like you're okay at it, is you can buy a cheap horse and you can make it into something better, and then make a nice horse for yourself. So, like, I think
I've heard every
can't buy,
horsewoman
like-
say that.
I can fix you.
Sorry.
but you can't. I mean, you can't buy a crap rifle and then make it into a good one.
But you can buy a good crap rifle.
Yeah. And then every time you shoot badly, just say, no, it's not me. It's just my cheap crap rifle.
It's definitely the $30 bipod. It's just throwing around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's me at all.
All right. Well, we touched on billionaires, and a lot of people's answer to this question was that they'd like to be a billionaire. Tash, if you could trade places with anyone in the world, who would that be?
Oh, I really struggle with this. Hey, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go like all female on this and be like Jason Statham's wife. Like,
that is one of the best answers ever.
It's probably the best answer, I think. we wanted a unique. We wanted a unique perspective. We got a unique perspective.
That is so good. We've had a lot of different answers like
but you
that.
know what? I'm not even greedy. Like, I wouldn't even take billionaire. I'll just take millionaire. It's fine.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So I gather you think Jason Statham's a bit of a right then?
You know, maybe it's like a thing for the word Jason. You know, Jason Momoa?
He's single now, isn't he? I'm pretty sure he's single.
What? I'm in with a chance.
Yeah.
Never.
You best start drafting your
No
letter,
way.
your love letter to him.
Well, we're going to tag him in this podcast.
That's right.
For sure. He'll give it a listen. Well, do you have kids, Tash? Maybe if Jason Momoa listens to the podcast.
Well, he already has kids, so like
Well,
I don't even
tick that
worry
box.
about it.
Yeah.
Stepmom. instant.
Someone already went through, you know, all of the epicness that comes with the female side of childbirth. I don't know. That's a really big question. Like, and it depends like how far you want to go down that rabbit hole of female perspective. Like, I would say outwardly, like, no, I'm not really. I like children, but I don't think I would have children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm 30, so I'm old as dirt. No. Yeah, they're just such a big commitment. Like, and you've really got to find like the right partner,
Mm-hmm.
and I just yet to find sort of. I just think it's a really vulnerable place to be as a woman, to have children to sort of someone, right? Like, because that's once you've had a child, you are connected to that other person
Forever.
well, for life. Like, essentially, even if you separated or whatever, it's you will share something with them forever. And like, we're going like into another fucking rabbit hole here, but I think like you've just got to so carefully vet the other person. Like, so I don't know, like I just see a lot of people really race into having kids with someone else, and they don't really feel like they know that person really that well, and it kind of ends up pear-shaped. And I just feel like there's a lot of kids that pay for probably poor decision making on the parts of adults, or
Yeah, definitely. It's a mature way of looking at it.
there's a lot of like generational trauma out there, and I'm just like, well, I don't want to add to that, you know, pool unless I was really, really confident in the person that I was with, that it was a really, really solid thing. So yeah, but it's not like this thing that like sits on my bucket list, and you know, and I get like weird dreams about having children. Yeah, no, like,
that's a fair comment, I reckon. I mean, two of us are dads, and I mean, I've got twin daughters, and I'm divorced, and I hear what you're saying. And you know, if I had my time again, I'd probably do a lot of things differently. But the one thing I probably would say in response, because I do agree with you, because ultimately you want to try and make the best decision up front. But if it all does go pear-shaped, you just got to make sure you learn the lesson from what you've been through. And my girls definitely don't miss out on anything. I'm a much happier dad now that I'm not with their mum, and I think their lives are enriched by having the two different families and their mum's got a new partner, I've got a new partner. So they've probably just got more love, and it's just the logistics you have to navigate around. So, I mean, 100% agree with what you're saying. There's a lot of trauma that goes on with families separating. I was just lucky, I guess, that my kids were only 2, so they didn't really know any different, and they were sort of young enough to be able to cope with it. But yeah, it's definitely a tricky decision. It's a life-changing decision to have kids. So you want to try and do the best.
Such a big decision.
Absolutely. No, I agree with everything you just said.
Like, if I had a kid that I didn't like, or I didn't, you know, what can you do? If I get a dog or a horse I don't like,
I was shit scared of that, actually, when my son came along. I was like, what if he's just a piece of shit?
Like, yeah, right. Straight in there.
Like,
Yeah.
Not like when he's a kid and a piece of shit, but like because I was a right shit when I was a kid. Like early,
do you mean when
early
you were
to
a
late.
kid?
Well, hang on, I was a shit for a fair while there. But I was like, if my son is anything like me, I would just wouldn't know what to do with myself. Like that was a genuine concern. Turns out he's just like the most kind, like he gets it all from his mum, the most kind-natured kid ever. To like wouldn't hurt a fly. But yeah, big decision. And then I got scared a little bit, and then we're all good now. So, but agree with what you're saying. You just like it's not something that you'd take on lighthearted at all but it's one of those things that you don't know. There's like the classic like parents say to people that don't have kids, like, "Oh, wait till you have kids. You don't know what it's like." Like there is no rule book, but at the same time, you don't actually know what you're getting into either. So you're just sort of trekking in the dark anyway, and you don't want to add more onto that of the unknown and more sort of trouble, for lack of a better word.
There's never a perfect time, put it that way.
No, there's not.
Isn't there?
No.
No, there's
No,
never.
I
There's never.
don't think there's a perfect parent, is there?
No, there's, yeah, that's right. No, there's no.
You just do the best you fucking can.
Exactly right. You know, and you never know how anything's going to turn out. You just do the best you can and cross your fingers and drink.
Hope for the best.
We do not condole drinking irresponsibly.
Daddy drinks because you cry. Yeah, right. Bloody hell.
All right, Tash, what is the most dangerous thing you've ever done?
I can't even think of anything off the top of my head. Like, yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't think anything like crazy. Not like I wouldn't say that I'm not a risk taker, but I haven't I've done like skydiving and ridden very silly horses, and there's not many horses I won't hop on. But yeah,
You
I don't
ever,
know.
you ever had a bad bust up coming off a horse?
Yeah, been kicked off.
Yeah. I had I like to make a point of staying on. But the idea is to stay up in the middle. But I had probably my biggest buster ever, and last one was in end of 2011, and I had a little mare that had just come off the racetrack, and she'd only been off the track for about 12 weeks, and I went and grabbed her. She was being sent down with me. I was moving down to Sydney, and I went and grabbed her from a paddock, and all of my stuff had gone in a truck already down to Sydney. So I went and grabbed her in a halter. It was only 5K, so I just walked her home. And I got kind of lazy, and I was like, I'll just jump on her. Anyways, long story short, I was riding this freshly off the track mare along the road in just a halter, bareback, and she was going really good. Kudos to her. And then a dog came out, and that was the fucking end of it. Well, we were nearly home. I was 600 meters from my house, and she just turned around and just full bolted, nobody was home in her head. And I had her head nearly in her chest trying to pull her up, and she was just gone. And then we were coming back out into a T section, back out into a main road, and I was like, oh, if I'm on her and we both get collected by a car, that's double as bad. So I think I might just bail at this point. I can't stop her. And so I just kind of half ended up just deciding to bail on the side of the road, and I slid along on my thigh, and I have these huge scars down there now. And how everything happens in slow motion when you come off something. And then in my head, I'm like, oh, if she gets hit by a car, then it's a massive liability. And so I was like, fuck, I really need to catch this horse. And so I'm sliding down the road on my leg, and I'm trying to get back up, and then just start running after this horse.
Please tell me you did a combat roll and then land on your feet and started sprinting, just like in the movies.
It was. I really wish I had footage of it, because it probably would have been pretty cool. But I stopped this old lady in her car. I'm like, stop. And she's pulled over, and I've jumped in her passenger seat. I'm like, go after that horse. So I remember her looking down at my leg and being white. And I'm just go. And so we've ended up driving after this galloping horse, and we kind of pulled in front of her slightly and then slowed her down. And then, I got out of the car way up ahead of her once we'd slowed her back to a trot. And as soon as she saw me, this horse just came racing. She must have been like, where the fuck did you go? Did you see what just happened back there? This dog. And, I was like, cool, mate. Caught this horse and started to walk it home again, waved the old lady off. And she was just what the hell just happened? And then I got like real woozy and sat on the side of the road, got my mum. I put this horse in a random paddock just through a gate. I'll deal with that tomorrow. I don't know whose house it was. And my mum come and got me. Long story short, I ended up at the hospital later that night with 32 stitches, and I had to have it all scrubbed out. And they called like the burns unit in Brisbane because they were like, we don't even know where to start. And it was really, it was a lot. Like I tried to scrub it out myself in the shower because I really don't like hospitals. And that didn't work.
Ouch.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, I'm at least having dinner because, you know, like when you get to a hospital, like you can't eat anything. So I insisted on having dinner because it was just full of just like fat hanging out everywhere and it was just disgusting. And I just like wrapped a towel around it and like it was a very, very quiet family spaghetti bolognese. Everyone was just like, what? And then we went to the hospital and it was just so deep, like the cuts, like the lacerations, which is filled with gravel and grass, and they ended up needing to actually they couldn't scrub it out like under morphine or laughing gas and or anything like that. So they ended up having to knock me out. So, but I mean, you know how like in emergency you get you can get butchers, like you just don't. It's just a lucky dip, like you don't know who you're going to get. Yeah. The guy who stitched me up, kudos to him, did like an amazing job. And he's like, there was really, I don't know what he stitched. There wasn't much left, but he stitched it all into like straight lines rather than like this big, ugly, like, you know, massive burn thing. Like it's in these really lovely, like he's just sort of kneaded and knocked into like straight lines. So at least they're nice straight scars. If that makes sense.
So it's like, look, like in my mind, I'm picturing Wolverine's just giving you a nice slash. And then you
that's
just got
literally like, it looks like a big that's actually
that's
what
cool.
It does look.
Do you tell everyone that Wolverine attacked you and you kick his ass?
Oh, God.
I would fucking do that all day.
You know he's not real.
What?
This is what we deal with, Tash. Well, that's a pretty epic story. That's a good one. Now, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
That's like it's a really hard question, hey, because there's lots of pieces of advice, and I've been pondering this a little bit, and like I think there's like two that I always come back to, and like there probably is like the dumbest answer, it really is, but I think I do actually apply this a lot. Probably the first one is like what other people think of you is none of your fucking business. And like I don't know, like that's it just really helps brush a lot of shit off when you just like if you just think about it, you're like, oh well, God, I don't fucking care. Like it's not my business. I don't care.
Yeah.
And you just move on with your life. It's a really good way to like just And then the other one is it relates back to horse training. And a really, really old horseman said it to me once, and like it kind of like just applies itself in like all kinds of female metaphorical ways like through my life, where I'm like I was really cut up. I just had this training session, you know, with a young horse, and it didn't go well, and you know I was really sort of upset about it when we finished up, and I was pretty cross sort of with myself, and you know I could have done this better, I could have done that better, and he was just sort of like, mate, stop. Like, do you think that horse right now is out in that paddock thinking about all the things he could have done better or you could have done better? No, he doesn't give a fuck. Okay, so just quit thinking about it. Like it's done. Just do it again tomorrow and just, you know, make some changes, do it differently. But he's not thinking about it. You don't need to like think about this anymore. Like it's just drop it now. And like I kind of apply that into a lot of other areas of my life. Like he was a super skilled, you know, really old stockman from like the bad old days up on the stations and that. And so I really, really respected him. And it's just like this thing that just is always in the back of my head. And when I find myself, not even with horses, but just thinking about things, you know, in any other part of my life and just getting to the point that I'm kind of getting really wrapped around the axles about it, I'm just like, oh, Christ, like I kind of just get to the point where I just woo myself up and I'm like, I'm not at a point anymore where I can make any more change to this situation by, you know, stressing about this right now. I'll pick this back up and worry about it sort of when that time comes. Like I've done as much as I can. Do you know, does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's good advice, both of those points.
Absolutely. It's that old like you are your own worst enemy sort of thing. You can either let it go and let it consume, out of control and let it consume you, or you can let it go in the sense of stopping.
It's probably really good for your actual like well-being and like health in general, being able to let go of some things and not stress and stew on them. I'm a firm believer that stress can complicate your health.
Oh shit, yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. Like, there's science behind that, man. But no, I think that's spot on. Like I actually literally had a conversation about that with my 6-year-old this afternoon. Exactly that. They didn't go and try not to think about all of the things that you think are bad that could possibly be happening or could possibly be happening that you actually don't know about and have no control about. You know, it's learning that you control yourself, and that's about it. Like, you're not responsible for anything else.
And I think with the first piece of advice about, you know, what other people think of you is none of your business, especially relevant in this day and age when, you know, everyone's on social media and gets so wrapped up in the comments and you know, the keyboard warriors get on there and say their piece, and it's just ridiculous. I think I mean, we're certainly nowhere near Joe Rogan level, but one thing he always says on his podcast is whenever he posts something, he just posts it and then leaves. He never reads any comments, and it's just a perfect way to be. Like everyone else is sort of like feeding off of what everyone thinks, and you know how many likes I get. But I think that's just the way to do it. Just post and, you know, say your piece and then piss off, basically. Yeah. Who cares what everyone else thinks?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and sometimes honestly it just says like I try not with the whole social media thing. Like I don't really get too jaded about anything that, you know, is not a positive comment. I'm just like, whatever, man. Like, and if it's really bad, I'm just like, wow, life must be like really hard as a beta male, right? Like, fuck.
Do you get people commenting negatively on your socials? Do you?
Not generally on mine, but there's been a time quite recently that one of my posts was a four-wheel drive page like posted something, and it was just at a really controversial time with like other posts, and mine just kind of got like chucked up in there with that. And I guess I was kind of happy that I just didn't fucking care.
Mate, the way I always chalk it up
I just don't.
Because every time there's a bad altercation that I have with someone that's like quite evidently blown out of proportion on their end, I always chalk it up to, well, there's something else that's pissed them off and they're just letting it out on me. Like that's just the write-off. You know, you just go, well, clearly.
That's probably what they think about you when you have a rant on social media, mate.
Probably. And I'm like, I don't know, after a couple of beers, I'm not, you know, I am a little bit of a keyboard warrior. I'll admit to that. You know, but I like to be diplomatic with my wording and borderline insulting. But anyway, it's one of those things that do what you got to do and get on with it.
It's one of those experiences you're still learning from.
Yeah. I don't know. That's why I stay off of socials. It's like talking to a wall. So people say anything.
Just don't bite, man. Just don't bite. Yeah. Let it go. Be like, it's that little dick syndrome.
It's that little, that like the sense, it's like that versus your sense of injustice or sense of like, how can you not see what is quite obvious, like to you? Like that's the thing that I've struggled with a little bit, and that, you know, recognizing that and dealing with that is a different issue. But, you know, I've got a very strong sense of injustice. So I feel like if someone's saying something that has no basis or it's quite evident that it's with an underlying intent that's got nothing to do with the subject, then I feel
compelled to say
something.
I get that, but at the same time, you've got to realise that you ain't doing shit behind.
Oh no, I get like. Don't get me wrong. Like 90% of the time, I just keep scrolling. No worries. Like the time that I got caught out, I was a well couple of drinks in.
Yeah,
I had a bad day, and I was the douchebag that was like, "Yep, I've had a bad day about something else. I'm going to let it out on these people." So, my apologies to anyone that I've ever insulted ever. It was never about you.
What a general apology.
Point made.
Exactly right. You know, lessons learned on, you know, within yourself.
Just give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to grab my portable charger and whack it on this phone.
Yeah, no dramas. Those battery packs are awesome.
Oh, yeah, it's like a microwave. Once you've got, like, you don't know how you live without it.
Yeah. I got one that was like a jumper pack for my ute because the batteries in the ute were getting a little bit heavy going.
Oh, yeah.
And it doubles up as a...
Was this also from Kings?
No, it wasn't. It was one of those spontaneous buys. It
From
cost me
Kings?
way too much money. It wasn't from Kings, no. I just walked into an auto shop. I don't even know which one it was. Like my batteries
Came
every now and then don't turn the car over, so I should probably get it like one of those little portable jumper kits.
Probably just
Get a new battery, you dickhead.
Again, so it's like this is the perfect example of a cross between being a cheapskate and then spontaneous buy. I was like, I don't want to pay because I got dual batteries.
It's called maintenance, man. It's not.
Yeah. So I was like, it's all right. Because I didn't know if it was the batteries or if it was the alternator or what the fuck was going on. So I pulled over, managed to get close enough to some auto shop, walked there and went, might need to jump the car a couple of times. What do you got? And he said, this. And then I bought it and then I used it twice and then got new batteries because the batteries are fucked.
So you spent twice as much.
Yeah.
Absolutely I did. Again, it's an experience.
Yeah. Where's that womp womp wah?
This one. Yeah.
Nah, do you know what? Actually, I'm kind of glad that I did get that, and I recommend everyone does get one to keep in their ute because I've saved so many other people who've left their lights on, and when you're out in the middle of butt nowhere,
Wouldn't you just put jumper cables in your car?
Yeah, just put jumper
but
cables
this
in the car.
unit's like 200 mil by 100 mil, and it can jump a V8 12 times.
We'll test
Without
it out
having to
when I
charge.
get my
And it can
V8.
charge all your other shit.
And it can
as well.
charge all your other
That's
shit,
the
so-
point he's trying to make.
Yeah. So it was a spontaneous buy, an impulse buy, but it was worth it because I've also been stuck where the misso goes around and wants to charge her phone, so turns the ignition on and plugs the cable in and then drains the battery overnight, and then you go, fuck. So it's got me out of trouble before.
Anyway, let's not bore Tash with your
Yeah.
Let's
purchases.
not.
No. Can I
digressed.
just say, I am like as female as shit. I have this terrible habit of leaving my lights on because I don't have an alarm in my cruiser, and I don't know how many times I have killed my own battery. Like coming back out, I'm like, oh,
Sounds like you need a jumper
Tash has
pack.
been here, fucking. No, because I had my dad had one once when I was up at the Whitsundays visiting them, and he was like, it's fine, I've got this jumper pack, and he like put it on there, and it was just crickets, like nothing. But I had like one of those, really big. It wasn't like a standard jump battery. It was a big battery, and it was it was dead flat. Yeah, but I didn't have any luck with mine.
Well,
I need an alarm on my lights.
Yeah, a little beep or something, little
Yes,
buzzer.
that's handy.
Yeah.
is that like an aftermarket thing that you can get?
I'm sure someone makes
Yeah,
it.
yeah, sure.
It's like, what do you need? I need a light. I need a sound that goes on when my lights are on.
All right. Well, we'll get on to the next question, and it sounds like we're nearly talking about what I think might be the answer. But I'll ask you, Tash, what is your most treasured possession?
Oh yeah. Oh.
It's either going to be the
The
horse
one
or
that
the
I just
car.
lost. So my absolute treasured possession was my cruiser ute. I had an '06 factory turbo cruiser, which I can't explain. I think it's like a car person thing. I don't know how to explain it without sounding like a freaking psychopath, but I just loved this car. Like every morning I would turn it on and it would just bring a smile to my face. And I'd owned it since, like 2000 and early 2017. So it was just my most favorite thing in the whole entire world, and I loved it. And actually, like, super unfortunately, I was in a pretty major collision at the end of last year. I had an out of control driver hit. They were in like a little Barino oncoming car on the highway, hit a really large body of water, aquaplane, lose control of their car, and it spun and it hit my car. And yeah, he just hit my passenger door, probably about 80 km an hour, I guess, and going underneath. And then it like hit my passenger door, went in underneath my toolbox, and then my car launched up off his like a ramp, and then rolled 4 times down the highway, like full Mad Max.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And you've got some photos of that up on your Instagram. There's not too much left.
No, there's not.
So
No,
how did you fare out of all that injury-wise?
I'm fine. Like, I honestly, like, again, I don't mean to sound like I'm a pretty straightforward person. I don't mean to sound like a nut, but I think I just loved that car so fucking much that I felt really protected from it. I just got all that love back in that one moment when it really fucking mattered, and it 100% saved my life. In fact, the severity and the speed of the crash when the fire is pulled up, he was just like, mate, I have no idea how you're, because I was sulking, like I was big time in my ute, just did not want to speak to anyone because I was so fucking angry, and I just knew deep down this car wasn't repairable. And he was just like, mate, if it helps, you probably shouldn't be alive. He was like you, wow. Can I just outline that you're alive? Like, if you were in any other car, you and probably those other passengers, like, fuck knows, this would be really, really, really different. And you should just be really grateful that you're still here in one piece, like completely in one piece. And I just kind of, like, I don't know, probably grunted at him and then just like folded my arms again. And well, I sat in the rain and waited for the ambulance to come pouring. The rain was like pouring through my car because the windscreen was shattered. And it was interesting. But that was my most absolute, by and far, my most favourite possession in the whole world. So
we see on your Insta you've got another cruiser. How's that one going for you?
Yeah, we'll see.
Not the same.
Ain't like the old one.
No, it's not. Yeah, no, it's like trying to be out in the dating game like too soon. Like I'm just like.
It's the best car analogy I've ever heard in my life. Did you take it for a test drive first? Did you test the waters? Just,
Yeah, you got to do all these things, like, and it goes hard. But look, I've bought a really, like, I should be really, really grateful for what I've got. Within a very short amount of time of losing my other vehicle, who was named Angus, I went and test drove a heap of. I will only drive a Turbo 6 cruiser. Like, I don't want anything else. I did consider a few V8s, but I was like, no, I just love my Turbo 6s, and I also like. Was able to, I can take myself and go and look at them and feel quite confident mechanically looking over that car and feeling like I'm not going to get stooshed.
Yeah.
But if I went and looked at a V8, like, I'd be like, wow, it sounds fucking sick. And then I would be buying the biggest lemon ever, and I wouldn't know. Like, it would have been really easy to rip off, and I knew that for a fact. So I just kept with what I knew and what I love, and I found one it's an '05 model. It's got like an original 200,000 Ks, which is getting hard to find. Those particular utes with what is considered pretty low kilometres for that engine.
Bloody oath, most of them.
And it was local, and it's been they're flogged. Hey, yeah. And
Sorry,
it's been in the one family its whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the history of the car's pretty findable.
It's been looked after.
But it's just stock standard. Like, it's actually a really lovely story kind of that goes with it. And it was the guy who originally owned it, I'm pretty sure from New, got early onset. He loved this car, like just loved this ute, kept it in tip-top condition, and it's all stock, but he just he was very proud of it and loved it. And he got early onset dementia. And which is really sad. I mean, that'd be a really horrible way to see, a family member go. And so they had to kind of take this ute off him because he eventually got to the stage where he shouldn't be driving on public roads anymore. But apparently he had these keys like stashed around the place. He had like 6. They found like 6 keys for this car.
Oh, wow.
And he would like sneak in and jump in this ute and then just like drive out to his buddy's place, and then they would have to call and be like, "Hey, your uncle's here.
Yeah, let's go.
You come get him."
What a legend.
Yeah. It was. I just loved that it had come from someone who had really loved it, and then their young fella, like the nephew of this uncle that got early onset dementia, this young fella had been driving it, and he really loved it too, and he'd been driving it for about the last 2 years, and he'd done little bits here and there to it, and just to sort of I don't know, just make it look a bit cooler or whatever. But otherwise, it's pretty unmolested, and it's a good stock to sort of start back out with, I guess, and
what are your plans
and do what I'm going to do to it.
What are your first plans to do to it?
First thing, what are you going to do?
Oh, I had it for like a week, and straight away I went and got it chipped. I was just because my old ute must have been tuned, because it was an absolute weapon. Like, it would just go hard, and I used to drive Angus like I stole it, like, all the time.
What a
so
champion.
I'm that person that like winds their window down when they go through a tunnel just to like give it a blip, and I'm like, that sounds so good. Like I'm just a wanker. So. As soon as I got this ute, I went and got a Steinbauer put on it, which is a good safe tune. Like it's something safe to do, because there's like a trust factor, right? Again, it's like a relationship. It's like, well, I don't know. I get that it's been looked after and lovely and everything else, and that's what I've been told. But it's sort of, you don't want to go putting all this pressure straight on this motor that you haven't really driven around and you don't know it yet, and then just like blow it up or something. I don't know. I'm really funny about what I do and how I do it. So, I got a Steinbauer put in straight away, and then I went and got a 3-inch custom exhaust put on it here in Toowoomba by Muffler King. So now it sounds a lot better, and it goes a little bit harder. So, and I'll probably go again now that I've got like the proper 3-inch exhaust, and it's a lot happier. I'll go and get it tuned to go a little bit harder again now, and we'll just keep going from there and building on it while I sort of, keep instilling, I don't know, just like making sure that I feel like it's trustworthy to keep building what I'm asking of it. Does that make sense? Like mechanically?
Yeah, this sounds exactly like a relationship.
Well, it's all about feel, though, isn't it? Like, if you're feeling it struggle and you're not quite sure, you're just a little bit wary about pushing.
100%, yeah. And I had like all of the faith in Angus, because I knew that vehicle like completely inside out, like, and it had all of the things done to it and looked after, and had been on a hoist like so many times in at my mate's garage in his mechanic workshop in Canonvale, and there was just nothing about the vehicle that I didn't know and didn't know was coming. I knew everything that was coming up for it future maintenance wise, and I'm just sort of starting again with this vehicle, and I don't know if the gearbox is going to just randomly shit itself tomorrow. Like I don't know it yet. Does that make sense?
So does this one not have a name yet?
Yeah, look.
Because I've noticed you're speaking about it very differently to Angus.
Yeah, it's like shitbox and Angus.
Because Angus is a legend in his own lunchtime. So I called this one Bowsy, kind of like that thing out of Mario Kart, the little angry guy. So but this one's it doesn't have a lift or anything yet. It's just like a little baby. So it just gets, I just joke and call it Baby Bowser at the moment, but it's in the build to be Boss Bowser soon. Like it's going to be, I just want it to be like this big, lean, mean machine real soon. And I'm being really Gen Y about it, and just throwing money at it. Really irresponsible.
Yes,
you've got to do it. If you own a cruiser, you've got to do it.
Just walk in there and tell them you want everything.
Just how it is.
I do. And they sort of see me come in. Like I sort of like really had to make myself clear in diesel care. They were like, okay, so we'll put the Steinbauer in and this and that, and then we'll put it on the dyno, and sort of, you mentioned that you want an exhaust. What would you like? And I'm just like, I need it to go hard. Like it just, and he's like, so what kind of, what are you wanting out of your exhaust? I'm like, I want to, like, when I drive past people at a cafe, they have to stop what they're fucking talking about because they can't hear themselves when I take off. Like,
yes.
Just obscenity.
Full wanker status. Give it to me. And he was like, okay. I'm just like, whatever you expect, some cashed up wanker to come in here and ask for, that's what I'm asking you to do.
That's when he reaches for the file that says wanker spec and then just grabs everything out of it.
Yeah. I'm like, don't hold back. Like, just come on.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, look forward to seeing how that progresses down the track.
Yeah, it's got a pretty cool paint job lined up in the next couple of weeks. I'm getting it resprayed in a pretty cool pearl colour that's like a colour change pearl.
Oh, yeah.
And, Yeah, it's a discontinued Lexus color. I went down like at like 2 a.m. one night, went down like this pearl white fucking rabbit hole and ended up in like Lexus forums. And then I'm like, it was really weird. But I came out the other side with a completely different concept of what I was originally going to go with. But I'm pretty excited to see it. I think it'll look really good.
So
I haven't.
is it a white base with pearl? Or like, what's the color?
It's a blue based pearl.
Ah.
So like the I guess what would you say, like the metallic in it is usually based in something as a white pearl, like it could be like a red or a blue. So this is a blue based, and I'm like, put like extra metallic in there. He's like, okay, like wanker stuff. Go for it.
Paint guy reaches for the wank spec folder.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, you reach for that folder.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So it's a blue based, and so in some lights it looks silver. Like in a lower light, it'll look silver, and in sunlight, in bright sunlight, it'll be a pearl white. So that's just kind of cool. I just thought it'd be just something a little bit different while not being like fully out there. I didn't want a Larry color, but I don't want a white cruiser again either. Like I want something just that little bit different. Yeah. So that's if you look up this color code on Google, it just comes up with like all these different colored cars. Some are white and some are silver and some are whatever, but they're all the same. They're actually the same color.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah,
Nice.
So we'll see how that goes. And there's a big polished, big fuck off 5-poster bull bar again, wank folder.
Yes.
Just like
Pull it out.
just perusing like straight through that, and
Fucking hell.
yeah.
So like you're gonna
So
pull
I just
some.
want it to be fine.
You're gonna pull some massive manies then. Like once your car's up to spec,
Some toughies.
Just roll the main streets, just fucking windows down, letting it roar.
Yeah.
I
What
mean,
else do you
dudes
do
do
with
that,
them?
and then like
Take them off
I'm-
road? No.
No. I'm the dude that like if someone's got a V8 and they drop it and go past me, I'm like wanker. But then if I get into a V8, it's a different story.
Just wait till you own a cruiser, man.
Yeah.
Or a Turbo 6, Ryan. Come on, listen to the guest.
No, I'm saying I would do exactly the same thing.
Anyway, let's keep this rolling. Recommend a movie to us, Tash.
I don't really watch a lot of TV. So I only got legit. I only got a TV like in the last 12 months. It was because my parents gave it to me.
Wow.
That's impressive.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm always busy, like off doing shit.
Living in the real world.
Like I've lived, with partners that have had TVs, but as soon as I'm like, just whenever I've just been on my own, I'm like, why would I want to spend, $1,000+ on a TV? I can't. I'm like, whatever. But I would say I digress. Yellowstone. I know it's not a movie, but it's a series. Like you've obviously heard of Yellowstone.
It's so fucking
Yeah,
good.
of course. Yeah.
Oh, it's the best. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
For sure.
That's my go-to at the moment. That's my binge. So now I kind of get it. Now I'm like, okay, I see why people like sit on their ass for hours.
They fucking play you there. Like they leave you on a cliffhanger, and then then they've got the next one starts in so much time, and then you've got like only a split second to decide whether you're going to be like a 3 a.m. finish or like a 10 a.m. finish.
Oh, no. It's all the way for me.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's 3.
I'm a sucker for that shit.
Moderation's for cowards, man.
Have you seen those? Is it 1838 or something like this? Like the Yellowstone spin-off that they've got. It's got the guy in it from
I haven't.
mental blank.
Oh, really? I've not seen that movie.
Cool story, bro.
No, the ranch. The dad from the ranch. He's like the tough guy in it. It's cool.
The dad from the ranch, as in like from Yellowstone. Are you talking about? Is it Kevin?
Yeah.
Kevin
whatever his
Costner.
name is?
No, not Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner
No, it's not Kevin
from
Costner.
the ranch. What the fuck are you watching? Dances with Wolves?
No, Kevin. What's his name?
I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know.
But he speaks like this, and he's got a big moustache.
I'll Google it.
all right. Well, we got one more question of the 10, and then we can go a bit freestyle with you, Tash. What was your first rifle? And if you didn't own one or don't own one, what was the first rifle you used?
Shot.
We don't know. So this is not something we know about you. So this is new territory.
No. Okay, so like it's terrible, but like the first rifle that I'd really shot and learned to shoot properly was when I joined the army. Even though I'd like been out on properties for a really long time, so that was your Steyr, just the standard issue weapon at the time, which I turned out to be pretty good at. Like, no, I would never claim to be like really great at anything, but definitely showed like a bit of flair for that. And even to this day, like I've been in the military now for like 11 years and I'm a POG, like POG as they fucking come, aviation. So we like shoot at the wets like twice a year. Like we never go to the range because that costs money. Don't worry about what we do for a living. Anyways, but like even now, like, so they've changed out like as you guys know, you've got to do like a shooting, you've got to do your groups, and you used to have to be unsupported. You can be supported now. Oh, wow. With, I'm pretty sure, with the bipod down.
Oh, really?
As your, like, I don't know what the fuck that's proving. Like, that is not testing your shooting skills at all. Like, supported.
It's not, but unless you're in like urban, if you're sort of, I don't know, if you're just green roll and you're on the ground and on your guts, like I would always lean the mag on the ground, or I'd lean the front grip on the ground or on something. I'd always try and steady my shot. Not that you could, but so I can see where that's applicable, but at the same time, you're right, it's not testing the individual at all. But this comes down to the new generation that's coming in. Could they even pass such thing with their fucking wimpy dexterity?
Do you think that's what it is? I've lowered it because they...
Yeah, fucking oath, mate.
I, to this day, refuse to do any of those, like, average groupings supported. Like, I just can't do it. I'm like, no, that's not what you should be testing here. So, like, you guys do you. I'm still going to, do this the way that I feel it probably should be done, which is not fucking supported. Like, because it's testing your shooting skills. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're breathing. Like, you guys, I mean, exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. And so that was the first sort of real shooting that I had done. And I know a lot of people would scoff at that because they're like, oh, the army don't teach it properly and all that kind of stuff. But I have been out with mates since, and actually most recently was out. And I've got a close friend that shoots really long range. Like he's really into that. And holy crap, I thought horses were an expensive hobby, but
yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or,
yeah, you can dump some gear.
I mean, I'm talking like the rifle and then the scope and then like the laser and then the rangefinder. And it was just thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in the back of this ute. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I've got the cheap hobby for once. Like, holy dooly.
Yeah.
Ooh. And had heaps of them. Like, he had like 4 of them now. I don't, like, maybe that was as much as the cruiser ute that it was sitting on. I don't know, but it's but I can appreciate like the precision that goes into it. And like he even makes all of his own, because obviously the longer you go, the more precision you need, and so many variables are in it. He even like makes all his own, like he buys the cartridges obviously, but he makes all his own rounds.
Oh, he reloads. Yeah, beautiful.
It's definitely a science behind it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a massive science behind it.
He actually, and he was like telling me about it, and I was just like, was like, wow, that's freaking cool. And he actually has an annealer. Mm-hmm. So he puts these rounds, once we shot them, like puts them back through, and he made the annealer himself, which was super cool. And like that's freaking sick, man. Yeah, so that was like a insight into, I guess, like a small insight into sort of the amount of like money and precision, and it was really, really cool. So I got to like spend an afternoon out there shooting with them and did pretty well. They were like, you've done this before, and I was like, no, I really haven't. Like, beginner's luck.
The basic principles of what the army teach you are pretty like bang on. It's just it's one of those things. It's not a one size fits all. You can't, you might have little twerks or between people that are different.
Twerks.
Twerks. I can't think of the right word
Tweaks?
right now. Tweaks, twerks.
I mean, you can twerk on the gun range
Twerks
if you
or
want,
works.
Josh. But
Yeah. But
I twerk on my hair all the time.
sort of. I guess
Shit goes off.
I guess it's like everything. You've all got your own way of doing it. I've got a question. Is it something that you could see yourself getting into, or maybe getting a firearms license? I'm presuming that you don't have one.
Yeah, I actually I literally just launched off an email. Funny you say that, 2 days ago, because they're doing one soon in the next couple of weeks here in Toowoomba. And I was like, when it's one of those things where like you've been saying I need to do that like for years now. And so I'm like, no, I really need if I can get this done so that I can, because I'll be out of the army soon, and I really enjoy shooting. And so and then I've got really great mates that have got beautiful rifles, and so it'll be cool to go out with them out into properties and do a bit more of it. So
you can amalgamate
and
your two sports and do it off of horseback. In the States, they pay big money to go on guided horse hunts, not hunting horses, but from a horse. Not.
we know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You shoot from horseback.
Brian's giving me a blank look. I'm like,
In my head, all I'm thinking is like there's someone riding bareback with a lever action, just fucking going to town with like massive hair flowing in the wind.
if that's
Just like,
if that's the way you want to play
Yeah,
it,
bro.
that way, man.
make me that guy.
looks like Jason Momoa.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly
Hey,
right.
There we go.
He's just wearing a loincloth with a lever action.
To hide his pedigree.
Yeah, just like an ammo belt across his chest. That's just manly
Okay,
as
like
fuck.
you know how I said I wasn't going to have children before. I feel like I found the man that I would.
I think I'd have children with Jason. It's,
Yeah, now you got to fight Ryan off.
that's right. Well, I mean, the science allows it now, doesn't it?
Not quite, I don't think.
All right. Well, Tash, at this point, we've finished with the structured questions. So what we normally do in this point of the discussion is take people back to where their love of being outdoors sort of started. And it'll actually be interesting to hear from you where you sort of started. Was that with horses? Was that with your family? Like what does an outdoor pursuit look like as a young girl growing up? We know what it's like as blokes, but were you sort of more outdoors as a kid or indoors? How did that look for you?
Yeah, so it probably is interesting because I was like always sort of lived in town sort of for the first sort of 10 to 15 years of my life. But I had an uncle that owned, do you know where like Bonshaw, Texas sort of area is? In like northwestern, I guess, ish, New South Wales. It's kind of on the border.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, it's like out in the backcountry, and I used to, but I was always horse mad. Like from the moment that I knew what a horse was, have just always been. None of my family are horsey, have just always been horse mad. And then as I like developed into my own person, it was just really different from my family. Like all of my family are into motorbikes. My dad used to race motorbikes, and was like road bikes as well. Did a bit of motocross, I think, but mostly road bikes. And so, yeah, we were sort of, my family's more into the motorbikes kind of thing, but I just always just absolutely loved horses and, always loved utes, and I always had like all the R.M. William magazines and, just anything horsey, Australiana as well, like that really old stuff where they, go over like all the old stations and like lots of stories. I'd just read and just crave like this lifestyle that I wasn't from. And then we started going out to my uncle. He owns like 10,000 acres and it backs onto a national park. And we used to go spend all of our school holidays there. And that's sort of where I was, he bred paint horses and he had like this stallion that was really, really quiet, this great big white stallion and with brown sort of patches on him. And I used to ride him around and, bring cattle in for him. And it was just a really magic time in my life. And although I wasn't like, I was around all the young fellas that were all out there shooting and stuff like that because he owned a big earth moving business. So, he had all these employees out there and us kids just kind of got like lobbed in with them, and they were like, right, you look after these kids. And so we would be out like till like 4 a.m, pig hunting and just running amok, really, or running a fuck. And we just had the greatest time. Like,
Yes.
And my mum would just be so devastated when I'd come home because, like, my pajamas, like, I was like this 12, 13-year-old girl, and my pajamas would just be blood soaked, like, because I'd been out, like, hunting rabbits or
That is so
cutting up
fucking
pigs
cool.
or roos or something like that, just out with the lads. And we just had the best time. And then I would just spend all of my school time, back in town, just like suffocating, thinking about that, just like waiting for the school holidays, like to be back out there again doing that. So I think it's kind of like, and I'm sure you fellas can attest to it, it's just in your blood. Like you're just born with something in you that has no desire to be in town. What do people even do in town? I don't know. Like, I don't even know what people do that don't have a hobby that's outside. I'm like, what the fuck do you do with your time? You must be so miserable.
Oh, it's
like
a lot of screens involved.
I don't know. Yeah, just watch lots of Netflix. I don't know. But, yeah, so that's sort of how I grew up. I grew up through my school holidays and, we're always in dozers and, once he taught us how to, once I was sort of about 14, 15, 16, I was able to just, go around and just do like minimal stick raking of paddocks. And when I wasn't doing that with him, we'd be lighting massive fires, which is like every kid's dream, right? And then, these huge, big piles of trees all pushed up because we'd be stick raking paddocks. And, if we weren't doing that, we were fishing or yabbying or just running a fuck. And we just had the best time. I used to do a lot of pigging then, and I haven't been since, really. Like in my early 20s onwards, I haven't had a chance to go out. But once I sort of, my lifestyle changes again soon, I'd be definitely keen to sort of go back into that because I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah, nice. Sounds like a pretty good upbringing.
I think you hit the nail on the head where, like,
yeah, I was very lucky.
It's when you said, like, you feel like you were sort of born into something that you don't identify with and you want to be doing.
Why does that sound like an advert?
I mean, I'm using the language, I'm using the wrong type of language here. When you feel drawn towards being outside, being drawn towards nature, being drawn towards being in the thick of it, I think we can all identify with that. What the fuck? I've got to stop using that word. I think we can all understand.
Using
what you
very
mean
woke
by that.
terminology.
I know, right?
Right?
I've been watching way too much YouTube, bro. So
You've been trolling too many people.
too many people. Like I 100% agree with you. Like you, because I was born in the middle of suburbia. So, but my old man loved camping, like loved it. So he would pack us all up and take us up to the Flinders Ranges, and we'd just run amok. Like I'd fuck off for the entire day. Like just following creek beds, walking up mountains and just being outdoors. And it was just like one of those things that you feel like you're in the right spot. And there's people that have that and people that don't have that. And you definitely hit the nail on the head when you're like, well, you were surrounded by people that you're like, I'm not really into that sort of thing. But you can, for those that are listening that want to get out and do something, this is like a good probably example of like just go out and do it. Like go out and try something. If you don't have people around you that can give you that, try and find someone that does. I mean, you were lucky enough to have people in your family to give you everything that you felt awesome with straight away. And we were lucky enough to be exposed to the things that we've been most comfortable with and felt at home with the most. And there's people probably in the city, and I've spoken to a couple of guys in my line of work that just look at them and you go, fuck me, man, just go outside and walk in the forest. And they'd be so much happier instead of being in the hustle and the bustle of the city. And that's like a trait in humans. Absolutely a trait in humans.
You got to wonder though, are those guys walking around going, something's missing, I don't know what it is, but I need something. I can't put my finger on it, whereas we know where that thing is. We just need to get outdoors and do stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So
we know where that thing is. We know where that outlet is, but people are walking around
almost
in
like
cities.
Primal or instinctual, or like there's like a part of yourself that you feel calmer and more at home when you're outside, not stuck in a synthetic environment, because everything about the city is a synthetic environment. There's very little, like there's nothing natural about what we do inside of a city that that the human, like the instinctual part of a human mind can relate to.
Here's a question for you, Tash. So those things you've described about getting out and doing like hunting and being around motorbikes and whatever as a kid and dozers and lighting fires, traditionally those are sort of things that you go, well, that's what little boys would do. How was that growing up, with, being a female? And I'm
a man and I still do that.
Yeah,
Little boys would do.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah, who's using the wrong wording now, bro?
No. But my question is, did you feel any sort of pressures or anyone in your ear saying, no, you're a girl, you have to do this, you can't do those things? And obviously you love them, and that's the main thing here. But did you feel any sort of pressure or those, sides, the genders, going, well, you have to do this?
Stereotyping.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. Like I've been asked that before actually a few times, and I just haven't. And I don't know if it's because I'm just like oblivious, like because
who gives a fuck what anyone thinks? Yeah.
I'm just like, whatever, man. And I'm like off doing whatever the fuck I'm doing. Yeah, no, I don't feel actually like, no, I don't feel like I've ever had any pressure to do anything other than what I wanted to do. And my mum is like a super down to earth lady, has been through the most like mind-boggling things, and is just the kindest, loveliest person. So I was really lucky, to grow up with her, and so she never really had, like, she was just always just like wanted the best for us. So if I wanted to dress in like just the most tomboy shit, and she would be devastated that my clothes were covered in like blood and guts. But she was just like, well, at least you're happy. Like, as long as you don't go into a psychopath, like, what can I do? And as long as I was happy, she was happy.
Yeah.
So no, I've never had any like weird. I wasn't from a family that expected me to be anything other than what I was or am. And I would even go like one step further and say, like, even through my military career, I've been asked quite a lot actually, like, have you ever felt like people were sexist or it was hard to have your career? And in the way that I think that they're asking, I don't think so. I don't feel like I've ever had an opportunity held back from me or anything because I'm a female.
Yeah. I think
again, I don't know if that's because of my personality. I'm just like, get the fuck out of my way. I'm doing whatever I'm doing. Like,
Did you ever find that you had to like prove yourself as a female though?
So that's interesting. And that's what I think people don't kind of realise, is that it can be a little bit challenging. And I'm not going to say be challenging to be a female. I'm just going to say it can be a little interesting to navigate it as a female, because sometimes you will go into certain situations or groups of people that might have a preconceived concept about what you can do as a female, or the fact that you're a female now in their group. And they're like, oh, God, like, this is going to suck now. I've got this chick. Fuck. And I'm one of those people that are just really big on, I hate like a loudmouth woman any more than the next bloke. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. It just kills my life. So I just really believe in, like, don't worry about the biases or anything else. What you need to be worried about, mate, and this is like me in my own head, is that you can do your job and you can do it well. And then if you're doing your job and you're doing it well and you're not holding anyone up or making it hard or whatever, you're not letting the team down, so to speak, then anything after that, if you know that you're doing that properly, anything after that is just someone being a dick.
Yeah.
Like, and then that's their own fucking issue. But you got to understand as well sometimes that there's usually a bias because they've been shown otherwise in certain cases. So sometimes I don't even blame them, like for being like, oh shit, we've got a female. Like, what am I going to have to carry something out of a pack in 10Ks?
Yeah, no,
because they've had to before. Like,
yeah.
So, and I get as frustrated as the next person. So I just believe in doing your job, doing it well, and kind of, I guess, healing that bias. If there was a bias, healing that bias in the sense of just not trying to prove myself in some kind of like egotistical way, but just putting my head down, bum up, getting it done, and then they can make their own assessment after that. And usually, honestly, like 9.99 times out of 10, I can't honestly feel like hand on my heart I've ever come away with someone that's been like, oh yeah, but she's a chick, so she sucks. Like, I just don't think I've ever come across that. Usually if people are still saying you suck after, it's probably because you are shit at your job and you need to do better. Like, just that fucking people. Like,
it's funny. It's funny you say that. Like, despite what I've been told by others about a culture that exists, I've never experienced any man saying that. Like, I've never experienced anyone.
Look, man, in the infantry, when they started bringing the idea of women into the infantry, it certainly got up the back of a few lads. And you had the whole argument and the whole, they're not built the same way, this and that. And the thing that I think ultimately pissed a lot of people off, a lot of males, because one, some of these males can barely hit the standard, but is the fact that they'd simply drop the standard for the women to get into that role. That's shit. I believe in equality, and equality is
absolutely
the standard. You all meet it. If you can all hit it, you're good to go.
It's equality of opportunity,
Let's
not
fucking
equality
get the
of
job
outcome.
done.
Yeah. And they did the same thing with COTS. They lowered the standard for the women and it's less than what the men went. Like, and to me, that's just like, it's taking a stab at women, saying that they're lesser. Like,
and that's the thing, it can't feel nice as a female to sort of be like, okay, they've lowered it for me. It's
I don't understand that.
I don't know. I imagine, but I'm not a female. So.
I mean, have you ever experienced anything like that where you've gone through a trial and it's been required to be less than what is the standard for men?
Well, I think like a lot of like the physical outcomes, like all the expectations in the army, like as we already know, or the military, not just the army, sorry. Like the fitness standards are lower, the stuff like that, and I think, here we go. I might tread on my dick here. But there's like disciplinary stuff where I have honestly seen some women just get away with things that, if a dude did that same thing, he would be in so much hot water to the point of being kicked out. But I've seen a female do like things that I just don't agree with, and I don't believe they're a soldier's qualities. And I just usually just say like, that's, they're not even a soldier's asshole, and they shouldn't be in here. Like their interest is not in the best interest of the Defence Force. They shouldn't be here. I don't care if they're male or female. But I have seen disciplinary stuff where I do believe women were treated actually better than, I've had mates who have been accused of things from a female that they did not do, and eventually came out in the wash that they didn't do it, that they were treated like lepers, and it really affected their career. And that's kind of where I get a little on the fence about it. And and not to be sexist in any way. I'm not trying to be. I'm not a feminist. I'm not. I don't have any issues with anything. But sometimes there can be double standards, and that's annoying. and as you said, you're like, oh, it must be frustrating as a female to be sort of reduced to that, or be expected just to do less. And when you are a capable female who works really hard to make sure that you're not holding any of the team back in any way, so you're always viewed. I want to be viewed as a professional. I don't want to be viewed as what my gender is. That shouldn't even fucking come into it. Like, I don't even think about, that I'm a female or a male or whatever. I don't care about that. I'm your colleague or, your subordinate or whatever. I just want to be seen as a professional and just work hard and be in that sphere. So, I get really – there has been a few times where I've gotten sort of frustrated, and where things have come up. It might not even be directly to do with me, but it might be with other males or females, where the kind of gender things kind of come into it, and it's just do your fucking job. Just do your job and do it well.
That's fair enough.
It's honestly –
What made you join up originally?
The adverts.
A bad joke.
Ads. Some quality ad campaigns, man.
Yeah, quality ad campaigns. yeah, so what made me join up? So I got like halfway through my Bachelor of Science and I was like, oh, this isn't, this is a stupid idea. I'm here because I thought that this is what I should be doing after school. Aren't you meant to go to uni after school? None of my family, my direct family that I'm really aware of, I have a really small family. I don't know a lot about either side of my family, actually. We know we're military or anything like that. So I got accepted into law and I was like, oh, that could be cool. And at the same time, I was like, why did I just do that? Like, I'm not even interested in that. But it sounds like, isn't that the thing that you should do? And I remember just like, my mom had somehow like organized this meeting with, God, what was he? I can't even fucking remember anymore, like a barrister or a solicitor or something. And she was like, go and have a talk to him about it, like a career and blah, blah, blah. And as we were getting into the car, because I was getting a little bit jaded about like, what should I do? Like, what should I do when I grow up kind of thing. And I was like, well, if this doesn't work out, this chat, I'm just going to run away and join the army. And it was just a passing comment. I never even considered that. Anyways, chat didn't go well. I was like, God, that sounds like a shit job. And then, and I'd already, been accepted, for a place into law or whatever. And I got home, my mum's like, so why don't you look up army jobs? And I'm like, no, Mum, that was a joke. And she was like, yeah, but look up army jobs. And I'm like, oh, God, okay. Like, literally just to appease her and get her to shut up. I opened the laptop at home and I'm like, the defense recruiting website. And there's all of these cool ads. And I was just like, oh, yeah, cool. Actually, this looks freaking sick. I hadn't even considered that before. And I really decided at the end of it, like perusing the DFR side, I was like, okay, I want to be a helicopter pilot. Like, that'd be cool. I think that's what I want to do. Went and did like the assessment and everything. And what I failed on was trigonometry without a calculator, because I just hadn't done it for like a couple of years. And I just missed out by the skin of my teeth. And the assessing guy was like, oh, God, like, okay, it's like this. Like, I know that we could give you a refresh quickly, like a crash course on trig without a calculator, and you could do this again this afternoon, you'd pass and it'd be fine. And, you'd be off to attempt to start your career. That's not how it works. You can't start again for another you can't try this again for another 6 months.
Yeah, wow.
And at that point, like, I was, still sort of, I meant to start the new uni season doing law, and I was picking persimmons and working at a servo and riding horses. And I was like, oh my God, just get me the fuck out of here. Like, I'm done. I can't do this for another 6 months. Just get me a job. Like, okay, I'll just take a normal job, not an officer job. And he was like, okay, well, if you want to be a chopper pilot, then how about we get you into like helicopter operations side of things? So, you can transfer over into being a pilot a little bit down the track if you want me to get you in now. You've scored pretty much at the highest you can, which means you're eligible to do pretty much anything within, the other ranks type of profile. And that's how I ended up in the job that I'm doing. And I 11 years nearly has passed and I still not transferred to be a helicopter pilot. But that's how I ended up sort of in the army. It was just, and then within 3 months, they must have really needed, I guess, people in my role and whatever. Within 3 months, I was at Kapuka from my U session, what they call a U session.
Wow.
I was there. So
Wow.
that was that. And I was locked in for 4 years, which was a really good thing because, I didn't really know in the first year if I really liked it or not. But I think it's really good to lock people down, especially like in our generation, to make them sign that contract for 4 years. Because I think like the first year of being, perhaps, I can't speak for other people, but, that first year is a little bit tough. Not like after training, like once you're actually in a regiment and you're like just sort of learning the ropes and whatever, it can be tough. And I'm really glad that I was locked in for that 4 years so I couldn't just be like, fuck this, and then just leave. Because it just teaches you a lot and you pick up a lot of life skills and it makes you sort of stick at it and kind of lose that, Gen Y mentality a little bit. I don't like this, so I'm going to go do something else because I'm entitled to do whatever I want. So, yeah. 11 years later.
What's that saying though, isn't it? Like you go slow to anything worth doing. So anything worth achieving, you go slow to it. So especially in this day and age where everything is at the fingertips, there's no patience. I don't want to say there's no patience. I mean, there's very little patience in many things.
Instant gratification.
That's it.
Love it. Love instant gratification.
No, but truly. Yeah, and it's in so many different, I think, facets of our life now. Everyone wants everything and they want it fucking now. They want, a relationship. They want their weight loss. They want their fitness goals. Like, I don't know. I think it's just becoming like this sort of thing of society at the moment where people just expect everything really quickly and it gets kind of ingrained into you as well. And I think there's like even a little bit, I don't know, hit me with it if you think you've got a different view on it, but people expect to be good at something straight away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if they're not good at it straight away, then it's not worth pursuing.
Yeah.
And like even I was a little bit of that mindset. Like I guess like, it wasn't that I wasn't good at my job. I don't know. It was just, I guess, like it wasn't like amazing all of the time. And, and I guess in that first year, if I think really if I hadn't been locked in for that 4 years, I probably wouldn't have stayed. But I'm just really, really, really glad that I did, because it really sort of kicked me in the ass and and kicked that bullshit kind of attitude out of me, because I think it's really screwing over a lot of young people.
100%.
Yeah, they're not prepared to do the work. You got to do the work to get.
You got to earn it. You got to earn it.
Well, there's kids these days that are doing uni and then they're like 2 years into their degree and they just decide to switch up. It's like, well, you haven't seen one thing out. Like, pick a subject, stick with it.
I mean, with that though, you should pursue something that truly does make you happy.
That's
You
true.
wouldn't expect anyone to stay in something that makes them miserable, but
Yeah.
there is too much of just flitting around everywhere and not actually sticking something out.
Yeah, I get that, but you'd think you'd have an idea of at least what you're going to be interested in.
I don't think most people do. The trouble is that, there's like it's that whole, there's so many options that you don't pick something. The trouble is that there's, like when you go back 20 years, it was like your dad did this and he was exposed to this industry. And so you were like, okay, well, that's a thing. So we go into that. And then that's how like your career started and you stay with one thing. Now, like the average span of our generation staying in a job is very few people stay in a specific job for more than 5 years. Like people are constantly changing.
100%. I remember when I was like going around to different schools before my twins went to school, and one of the particular schools we went to sort of see if we wanted to send them there, their focus was on educating kids for jobs that don't even exist yet, because that's literally going to be the reality. The jobs that they're going to be in by the time they finish school don't exist now.
Yep.
That's how fast things are changing. So I thought they didn't end up going to that school, by the way, but I thought that was a good perspective.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's kind of mind blowing. Hey,
It is.
It's crazy. Like that's that whole technological wave. So like one thing creates the development of something else, then something else, and it compounds on itself. And the wave of change that spreads through the economy, which in turn spreads through jobs, is quicker now than has ever been in the existence of humankind. So things are changing quicker than they have ever changed before, and people aren't ready for that, and we probably won't be ready for that, because we're still running off of like the fucking 80s and 90s mindset and the generations that we have, because that's what our parents have put down, have taught us. It's like we, as a generation, like especially the new generations coming in, they will never know what it's like to have to sit through ads in like watching a movie. Like the ad comes on, you run off, you get your chips, you go take a piss. Like you like it cuts something off.
Bro,
right?
just take a bottle with you. You don't want to miss that episode.
That's exactly right. Like it's like there's a stop in something. So, but now there is a never ending, like the rope is never ending for most things. So it's like constantly like you can understand how kids get addicted to screens and people don't go outside and all that sort of thing. It's quite sad, actually.
It is sad.
really scary. Hey,
100%. Now, Tash, we alluded to it earlier. In our discussion before the podcast, you sent us a few images today from your experience overseas. Now, when did your was it 6 months you said that you spent over in British Columbia? When did that? Was that during your time in the army? So you took leave?
Yeah.
It sounds like you did something for 6 months that was probably amazing. Just tell people what that was. It was over in British Columbia.
So probably, I reckon that's like the best 6 months of my life. Like, and I've had a pretty cool army career, like, you know, kicking around with helicopters and watching SF do their thing and whatever. So it's been really exciting. Like I've had, I guess, like I had a pretty exciting 20s, but this like really in its own different way took the cake. So I went over in 17 on a holiday, a week-long holiday to like a boutique fly fishing / horse riding lodge in remote British Columbia in Canada. And I spent a week, you know, it's a week-long thing. You get flown up in a private jet and you have this amazing week in, you know, log cabins and riding really good horses up into the mountains. And it's fairly advanced riding. Like you need to be able to ride to go on this holiday. And anyways, and I got asked by the owner there while I was there for that week, would I be interested in coming back the next season to actually work for her as a guide. They have a very, very small knit staff. So even though like I was like one of the two main guides and horse trainers, you know, I was still doing dishes at night and, you know, serving a bar in the evenings. You'd have your, you know, roster to, you know, a couple of nights a week you'd work the bar and we'd all clean the cabins on the Sunday while the big guest changeover was happening and jets were coming in and out, you know, exchanging our guests. But yeah, so I went back the following year once their season started again, because obviously I only work when there's no like, you know, heaps and heaps of snow around. You can't really ride through that. So I went there a month early, like a month before the guests, you know, were due to arrive. And I worked at this lodge up in remote British Columbia for 6 months. And it is proper virgin country up there. Like it's actually Trudeau gave it back, you know, their PM, he gave it back to, it's the size of essentially like what you'd expect a station to be in Australia. So it's a huge landmass. Gave it back to the Indians up there, all the First Nations people up there. So it's proper virgin country. It's fairly untouched. You could go out on Lake Chilco and not see another boat. We were like one of the very few people that were able to continue to operate. Karen McLean and Bud McLean were able to keep operating Silos Lodge there because they'd been really, really, really good to the clan of First Nations people since the 50s. They'd employed them, always been really good to them. So when they were able to reassume ownership of this huge landmass, massive natural landmass back, through the Chilco River and that the Honeycatine people, they allowed them to sort of stay and keep running their business because they were all on really good terms. So, and it was just unreal. There is, like, you see pictures and videos of Canada and, you know, it's like blue turquoise water and glacial lakes and big mountains that are glaciers and bears and moose and, you know, all this crazy stuff. And it's just, it is all of that and more. Like, you just cannot capture it in a picture or a video. It's really, really hard to do. And it's just one of those things you just immerse yourself in. There's no reception out there. Even the satellite phones are a pain in the ass sometimes. And it was just amazing. So I spent 6 months working at this lodge and meeting the most amazing people as guests that would come from literally all over the world. You know, you would just get such interesting people all week long. Like you'd have those guests for a week. And it was just a blast, you know. So I was just riding horses like all day out in the absolute wilderness, just going on all these adventures. And I just had like the absolute best time. And living in a tent, our staff, actually, we didn't get to live in the big fancy log cabins. We actually were out on like these platforms and they had, you know, like your safari tents, like your big canvas safari tents. We had big white ones of those. And when the weather started getting colder, as the salmon run sort of started to finish off, we actually had like these stoves that would be in our tents, you know, and the chimney would go right up through the tent, and we would have all this, you know, pine that you would burn. And pines, when you come from Australia, you're from like ironbark and shit that you stuff that into your wood heater and it goes all night, right? You just get up in the morning and stoke it up and put more in. Well, Pine, you have to keep getting up like every couple of hours to keep like shoving that
quick.
fucker full.
Burns real fucking quick.
Yeah, it does. It burns so quick, which means like you don't actually get, once it starts getting proper cold, you don't get the greatest sleep at night because you're constantly filling up your stove with crappy pine. So in the end, I just was like Princess and the Pea. Like I just had like 1,000, but like reverse, I had like 1,000 blankets. And I was like, fuck that, I'm not getting up.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I got over the whole wood stove thing real quick. So.
Did you enjoy the snow though?
Yeah, it was cool. Like I'm not really from anywhere cold, so and that was pretty awesome. Being riding out into the snow and riding out into sleet. When it's kind of like between snow phases and it's either really melting or it's kind of like raining, that like rough sleet stuff. That is character building. Riding your horse along in that, and that even then when you get back and your guests all go back into their cabins and they're having hot showers and they're warming up and going and having some shots of Fireball at the bar. You've got horses to tend to, and you've got lots of other things to do before you go anywhere near being showered and warm. So you got hours of this. And it's just such an exciting. It was just the best 6 months of my life, like by and far.
So with the tours, did you go out, say, riding or fishing for the day and then come back to the cabins, or did you camp on the trail?
Okay, so you could do two things at that lodge. You could do pack trips. You could book in for a pack trip, and our pack guests would leave for sort of I think it was like 4 nights, and just having like that army background, I was like, you want me to sleep on a foam? No, you don't pay me enough to sleep on a foam roll. I'm going to go back to like a cabin and like drink alcohol every night and live it up with the guests in the warmth. Thank you. And the other girl that was a guide, she was actually Australian as well, and she was from the Snowy Mountains, so she was like all about the cold. And I'm from North, like I identify. There's that word again. I identify. And actually, when I'd left to go to Canada, I'd come from Townsville, so I love the heat. So I was like, yeah, you can take the guests and go and camp out with them. Because, it's lovely to have guests and, and I'm pretty good with people, I like to think, most of the time. But when you're on a pack trip, you're with them, like, the whole time.
Yeah.
So, and you get some interesting I'm sure you've met some horse people. They can get interesting.
There's definitely
it's like there's car nutters. There's also horse nutters.
Well, we were talking about stigma before, and look, there's definitely stigma with horsey people.
They deserve it. We are weird. Like it's like when you sort of start talking to a fella or something, it's like I'm like I'm a horse person, right? Like I'm just going to give you like all the red flags now. I'm just going to make it easy for you, mate. Really worn out.
What about did you see any grizzlies or anything like that over there? I think you sent a few photos.
Yeah, you sent through a photo of your hand next to a paw that was the fucking size of your hand.
Yeah, I actually think, like, I couldn't tell you exactly what that paw was, and we were out on foot. That photo, we were out on foot looking for the horses at the start of the season. It's kind of wild. Like, there's like an 800-acre paddock, and they're like, girls, all of the horses go out there during the winter. You've got to go find them. Go find 2, saddle them up, and then bring them all back. And 800 acres is a lot of land. Anyway, so we're just like walking around, and then like as we're walking down to the lake, and we're trying to figure out sort of where they're coming to camp at different times of the day so we can come back the next day and catch 2 unfortunate too. We came across that massive paw print, and we're just like 2, humans on foot walking. That was a pretty fresh footprint. I'm not sure if that was like a wolf or maybe like a big cat or something. Like it's a massive paw print though. It's not a bear print. That's not a bear print. But whatever it was, I'd say to come down that morning to go down to the water, because that was nearly at the edge of the lake there, or the edge of the sort of the river outlet, sort of to have a drink. So
When,
And
when
we
I-
were just sort of like, I remember we come across it and looked at each other and were like, oh my God, like, holy shit.
when you first sent it through, I took a glance and I'm like, oh, it's a fucking it's a dog, like a wild dog. And I looked at it closely. I'm like, that's a fucking big wild dog. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it's crazy. But like some of the other photos that you sent through, all I don't know, 38, 40 of them.
I went like full crazy bitch on you guys.
It was so good though. Like I'm
Hold your
driving along
phone.
and my phone's just going ding 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 ding. I'm like, fucking oath. But like every single one of them, like they told a story. Like you could there's like basic fences going across these awesome meadows, and then there's like these massive glacial landscapes that we could see, and then like on horseback, and just it told a story about what you've done, and it was so fucking cool. Just going through them and scrolling through, and then you just like, fuck, you want to have that experience. Like it's inspiring, man. Like really, it is.
Yeah. Like it is amazing. Like it's just nothing. It's nothing like I've sort of traveled around Australia a fair bit, but it's just different to that because it's so seasonal there. Mm-hmm. So every time, like even if I rode the same sort of trails, like I might have like a trail that I like to take on Monday and another trail I like to take Tuesday, and because I have different guests, obviously each week, it's whatever. But it was constantly changing because the seasons are so significant over there. Like seasons aren't real significant in Australia. But over there, like autumn was by and far, like I don't really like the cold, as I said, but like I would put up with that with like my schmarg and, all of my coats and everything riding along on my horse with my guests because the colours were just unbelievable. All these poplar trees for like miles and then backed by like all these glacial mountains, and it's all each week everything was changing colour. So you'd never get bored of the trail, sort of is what I'm saying, because it would just change constantly, and because obviously their animals are seasonal too. You're seeing lots of different animals across that 6 months that you're there. You're seeing so much more different wildlife. And actually, this is fun. The first time I came across, I came into like this little. I was riding sort of through like this kind of. I came into basically like a plateau, and it was like a big kind of almost like I think like a crater, like a meadow. And all up was either side of it was all real steep hills and pine trees and poplars and whatever. And I came down into it, and it looked like like when pigs have been like rooting stuff up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it looked like pigs. I was like, oh, they have pigs here, and it wasn't. It was actually bears. So if you can imagine where pigs have done a heap of damage, looking for roots and stuff like that, bears do exactly the same thing. So when they start to come out of hibernation, you'll see where bears have been because over there it looks like pigs, but they're eating roots and then they find berries and stuff like that. Like they're pretty much herbivores at that point. Yeah.
There you go.
I'll have to remember that for when I go hunting over there.
Find the roots and berries.
Yeah.
Although you wouldn't want
And
a bear.
then run myself.
You wouldn't want a bear that's straight out of hibernation, though, would you?
No, they're crankier towards the end of the season when they've got their cubs on them, towards the end of the season. Sorry, towards the end of the season that I was there, when the salmon run is kind of on and they're coming out and they've got cubs on them, that's when you've got to like really, really respect them. And they're like where we were situated on a river, like literally on the river. Our lodges were all built on the riverside. So there was just bears walking through, like they just walk through the front lawn. Like I think I sent you guys a photo like one time.
Yep.
The fish boys, like the fishing guides, they were some seriously cool dudes, our fishing guides. Like they just lived, breathed fly fishing and smoked pot like maniacs. And they so accepted over there.
It's good for you.
And they like called me out at I wasn't quite ready to hop up and go do a workout yet. I think it was like just before 5, and they're like, Tash, come out of your tent, come have a look at this. And I was like, if I'm getting up and I have to put pants on, this better be fucking worth it. It was so worth it. Because there was like a grizzly bear just like sauntering past my tent, like right in front of me. And I was like, holy smokes. And then that was sort of like as the start of the season of bears just being up in your grill all the time. Like, how roos are just everywhere? Mm-hmm. Over there, it was like that, and you had to be so careful, all the time. Be really cognizant of sort of your surroundings, because there was a lot of bears around, going and looking for salmon, because we were on that riverside, as I said. They were out there looking for salmon, and when they got their babies on them, they do not fuck around. Like, they are cranky and they don't want you anywhere near them, and they can run like hell. Like, they will go you.
That's sort of something we don't really experience here. Like, we got things that'll kill you that are 2 centimeters long, but we don't really have any like big game. So like everyone's like searching their boots for.
Pretty sure a
death.
buff or a scrub will.
Yeah, like I'm
They're
sort of
not
like generally,
predators, though.
we don't have like any significant
they'll
predators.
Go, yeah. I've seen
In Australia, as a hunter in Australia, like the worst thing you have to worry about is maybe getting into a bit of a biff with like a scrub bull running on you that you don't see, or a kangaroo trying to have a fly kick at you.
I was out hunting and a mate's ute was rammed by a buff. And I'd literally got out the door. I've gone to check this water course in front of us, just at depth, and I've turned around and this bull's just charged the car.
Yeah.
Boom.
It's no grizzly,
And
is it?
pigs will gut you, man. Easy.
Yeah, well.
Have you? All right,
I
box
know,
on
like,
with a
I know what
kangaroo
you're
next
saying.
time, man.
Yeah, I'd box on with a kangaroo.
Settle down.
Nah, my like, I think the comparison in big game, like that'll kill you, that you have like very little defense against.
You're talking about carnivorous predators.
Carnivorous
what
predators.
you're talking about.
We don't have anything significant that we need to worry about.
But yeah, all right, on that front, yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, it's different because I don't know if it's worse or better, but we've got creepy crawlies that'll kill you in a second. But we don't really have anything big that you need to put up wire fences and have like a fucking desert eagle on your hip because something may come out of somewhere. We don't have to worry about that. It's a totally different way, like totally different way.
It really is. Yeah, you start to think in like a really different way. Like even at some point, like once the season really started for them for the salmon run, they just start like it's on like Donkey Kong. I used to get up and run about 5K every morning and then come back and do like a circuit and a weights workout. And I had to cut that away once the bears were really on the move because they're really aggressive and they're fucking everywhere. Like, and you don't not go for a run up a gravel road generally in Australia for fear of a pig having a crack at you, but the bears will absolutely. And then there was this one time I was running through like this one track, and I never went up it again by myself on foot. Like I went through there with horses, but it was the most surreal thing. I was just like jogging along, and there's like birds and whatever, and then and I went through like sort of this one part around this bend of this track, and everything went dead quiet. All the birds stopped. Everything stopped. Like it was eerie as hell, and I just got like the prickles in the back of my neck, and I was like, oh, that's not cool. And I sort of stopped, and I like quickly like looked around, and I couldn't see anything, could not see anything, but there was not one bird. Like everything just stopped. I can't really describe it other than that. And then I just got the fuck out of Dodge. I was like, well, I'm going. And I just like sprinted out of there because they've got like mountain lions and stuff over there, and they call them over there, they call them bushwhackers, because you do not know that you've been hunted by a mountain lion until he's like pretty well on top of you. Like,
yeah, they attack from behind.
Yes, yeah. And they're so stealthy and they're so quiet, and they're definitely a real issue. I always felt pretty safe on my horse because, that's a pretty formidable thing to take on, like this big thing with a weird thing on its back. So, but it's definitely you think differently.
When you're riding around on a horse, are they pretty good at sort of an early warning sort of system? Can they detect, like, do you say you're riding along on your horse? Do they know?
Does their spidey sense?
Yeah. Do you know when they're picking up that there's a bear like in the area or something like that? Are they pretty good with that?
Yeah, they're pretty learned, like, because especially these horses, because they would go out and live, in the wilderness in that big 800-acre paddock and fend for themselves for, sort of 4 odd months. Like when we brought that mob in, I think I sent a little video to you guys. When we brought that mob in, there was actually a sort of a foal in there. She was about 8 months old, and she had like down her rump 2 big claw marks, like all the way down. And so she must have had something grab her and miss. And like, obviously I'd say all the other horses came in and fended it off, but they are really wary. And I wouldn't say they're any spookier than than an Australian horse. I had a little Mustang cross gelding that I was boot camping, you could say, because he had some pretty interesting little naughty habits. But he was petrified of bears. Like most other horses, I pushed a black bear along once on a totally different horse, and this black bear had come across our path. And black bears are totally very different to grizzlies. Grizzlies, you just respect them. Black bears, you can kind of bluff a little bit. Sometimes I've been told like you can try and bluff them, and it's actually the joke's going to be on you. But I don't know. I just kind of felt like I could bluff this bloke, and I just kind of like pushed him along like a cow. And I was on a pretty big horse, and he got out of the way and moved on. But I would never do that with a grizzly. You know, there'd be lots of times I'd be riding a trail, because I was the head, the guide, I was at the front. And if I saw a grizzly up on the trail, I would just like put my hand up and stop and just wait, and then just let that grizzly and usually her cubs just move on. And they were not upset by the horses at all. They do not give a shit. They know that they are at the top. Hey, like. Yeah, well. And it's the grizzlies, yeah. You just give them that time and really respect them. But black bears, you can kind of push the limit a little bit. But this one little gelding, he would see a bear, any kind of bear, miles away, like by a river, up on a like a cliff top, and he'd be trying to bolt like the other way. He was like, nah, not going to do it. So yeah, that was really interesting. Actually, that other guide, one time I was riding along and she was in front of me, and this is when I was like the first week where I was getting taught all these like ridiculous amount of trails, and this deer like pretty much like jumped out of like a thicket of shit and like nearly on top of her. and just everybody just like starburst. And I was riding this really young horse who didn't do anything. She was just like so jaw-dropped. That's really good. You just stay there. And her horse just fucked off. And she rode her, like kudos to her. Like somehow she stuck on this horse. But I think everybody just scared the shit out of themselves, like her, the horse, and the deer, because it like nearly like jumped on top of them. So that was really funny.
Have you ever had a client's horse just piss bolt?
Yes.
Yes. What happened?
It's the funniest thing. So we weren't doing what we normally do every week. We were out bringing in some horses, and when you're on a horse and you're bringing in a bunch of horses, sometimes the horses can get like a little bit excited and they want to like run off with the other horses. So you need to be able to handle the horse fairly well to be able to keep him in check and, you know, not let him want to run off with the herd that he's supposed to be like pushing. There were two Tasmanian girls, and they're really lovely girls. And she was on this Appaloosa, like, I don't use aren't horse fellas, but enough said, Appaloosas are pricks. And we were riding along, pushed these horses out of the scrub, and then the horses were like, well, you know, we've been like pushed out of our little hidey hole, so we guess we'll just go down to the stockyards now, which is about a 2K gallop. And they took off, and they were like, well, we're going to go, and, you know, they did the thing. And her horse took off, like it was after them. And I was like, oh, shit. And I was like yelling out to her, I was like, pull him up. And she just couldn't. She was just holding on for dear life by that stage. I was like, oh, fuck. Like, so I like gunned it on this big horse that I was on. And he was really renowned. He wasn't very sure-footed. So I was just like 5 cent, 50 cent this whole time, like galloping after her horse because I was going to like pull up next to hers if I could and like just, you know, grab like a bridle or a rein or something and pull him up. And I'm like flying down this hill. And I'm like, my horse, I just really felt like he was going to like go head first because he was just such a tripper. And there was a lot of rocks going down this hill, but I was just flat bicky down this hill after her bolting horse who was trying to go after this herd that were galloping off. And just as I'm like nearly able to come and draw level with her horse and pull him up, he ducked under a tree and fully arched him up. And coat hanged her. It was so bad.
Just like
like
the movies.
Yeah, it was like just such an Appaloosa thing to do. He could have, like, it was like a huge field. He could have fucking gone anywhere. He went under this one tree. And yeah, he full coat hanged her. And, you know, in your brain, you just like, fuck, there's no phone reception out there. Like, if she's come up Buster, like, really good, I'm going to have to, like, satellite in, you know, maybe a helicopter or something. I don't know. Like, hopped off my horse. And she took it like a champ. Like, she did really well. Like, she was so winded and her knee was like really hurt and it started to swell straight away. And I always carried like a first aid kit and whatever. And she was like, no, I'm fine. And I like bandaged her knee up with like a compression bandage a bit and, got her back to the truck and yeah, and she was fine. She wanted to come riding the next day, like come hella fucking high water. And I was like, that's cool, man. Like,
champion.
I respect that. Yeah, she was really cool about it, but it was horrible, hey, like and I nearly caught this horse and it was just so annoying, like, but I was just like so close. And then, yeah, he managed to coat hanger at like top speed. So that could have ended so badly, but it was okay, thankfully.
Did you give the horse a good talking to?
Yes, look, that's not how we do horsemanship, but
every now and then they need a good belt in their belly. Just grab that rask and just
you spotty motherfucker. Look, you just don't entrust them to tasks like that again. You're like, okay, you had your one chance and you fucking blew it. Like, yeah, no, he was just being a horse, and you don't hold things like that against horses. So yeah, but that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, that just is a phenomenal story.
It's a good one.
That's pretty good.
It sounds like it was a pretty good 6 months, I reckon.
Yeah.
So, do you think that's something you'd like to do? I mean, you mentioned that you're transitioning out of what we keep using these woke words, identified transition.
You were so woke,
anyway,
man.
You're transitioning out of the army now, so or the military or the defence force, whatever you want to say. What's the next sort of stage or phase of life hold for you? And is something like that what you want to go back into, or what's the goal?
I'd love to. So with Canada, you can only actually have a 2-year working visa.
Oh.
Like 2 years. That's it. And then once that's up, that's it. Unless you have someone kind of like sponsor you. And America is really, really hard to get a visa to work in.
Oh, wow.
It's really, really hard. So, like what you guys mentioned earlier, like, you can shoot off horseback and go on like these hunting pack trips. That, like, I feel like that would just be the life. Like, that would be really, really cool, having guests and and another type of outdoorsy thing, which a lot of people, especially in Australia, we're not really familiar with, is having pack horses. Mm-hmm. Pack horsing is like it's a skill, it's an art form in itself, like, because you've got to get all their weight right and actually put all that gear on them correctly. And there's a real art to and I think it's a dying art too, because like, how often do we use a pack horse to go anywhere? Like, that was a really cool part of Canada. Like, we went out for 4 days, trail cutting, and we had pack horses, and that was really fun. So yeah, so something like what you guys mentioned before, like being in a hunting outfit and being a part of that out on horses, that would be sick. But what I'm doing at the moment, I'm transitioning out. It is to go and have more of the lifestyle sort of that I would like to have, because army is a lifestyle, like, as I'm sure you would agree. It's you sort of fit the rest of your life around it, and I've loved it, and it's been really good to me. But I'd really love to get into my passion of horses a little bit more full time, and so I'm going to be on hopefully a 2-on 2-off roster pretty soon, as like an emergency response type of role, out in rigs and mines and stuff like that. And so what that'll allow me to do is be able to be in that horse world, immerse myself in that a lot more, and compete. So I'm getting really into endurance riding. Like, so you go and do like 80 and 120K races on horses. So you're on them for like hours and hours. And a lot of those horses are like fire-breathing dragons, which I love. Like, I'm like, yes, the fact that you like still want to like pile drive me into the ground, after 8 hours is freaking cool, man. Like, that's great. I can respect that. Give me a challenge. Yeah. So, and it's just, I've got a really cool opportunity with a stud. I just bought a house really close to the stud so that I can like be in a really close distance to work there. And they're arguably some of the best bred endurance horses in Australia. And I'm just kind of like, I guess, just sort of now making my life sort of suit what I want to do more than what I think I should do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
really
can respect
exciting.
that.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people get to, is like, well, you've got your job, but then what am I really passionate about? What do I want to do every single day that doesn't feel like a job? And that sounds like exactly what you're doing. So that's really cool. That's props to you. Big respect for that.
More people need to do it, I think.
I think it comes with that. Once you sort of got your ducks in a row of what you think you should be doing, then you sort of figure out what you want to be doing.
Do you want to die happy or die sad?
Yeah, that's right.
I think.
You know, you
Die
sort
happy,
of.
yeah.
I mean, for me personally, I did what I felt like I was supposed to be doing for a while, and then you sort of wake up and go, "Well, what's the fucking point?" Really,
I'm going to take a month holiday.
yeah, that's right. I did. Fucking oath.
Yeah.
It's like Caleb said. Like, kudos to you. Like you and with the whole endurance thing. Like, because I know sweet fa about horses, let alone endurance riding with horses. So, what does that mean? Like, are you at like full gallop for X amount of time, or are you just? Is it like you read your horse and you try to whoever's there quickest without killing it?
How do you
wins?
win?
Yeah.
How do you win? Yeah, so that's really interesting. So what I kind of like about endurance riding is that it's a mix of that sort of tenacity. Like I mean, you can't say to me that anyone that's just gone and ridden 160 Ks on a horse through like heat, rain, being cold in the dark for 6 hours and like come out the other side, you know, doesn't have a bit of tenacity about them. You've got to want to be there. You can't be on a push button horse. You know, there's other horse disciplines in the world where people sort of, if they've got enough money, they can buy a horse that can already do all of the things, and they just learn to do it, be on it for 20 minutes, and then, you know, the horse kind of makes them look good. Like these horses are fit, they're ferocious. Like, so it's mainly dominated by the breed, which are Arabians, and they're like a chocolate coated coffee bean. Like, you either love them or you hate them. And a lot of horse people hate Arabs, and I just really feel like Arabs are just, they're kind of like an Australian soldier, I think, like what we're sort of known for. Like they're kind of got I find they've got, a lot of them have got a really good sense of humour. Once you get to know them enough, like these horses are, once they trust and respect you, there's a loyalty there which makes other horses really kind of boring. And they're really, really clever. They're really fucking tough. They just want to be there. They want to do their job. They're good at their job. And they're war horses. Like Arabs they literally come from the desert, and these tribes would war on these horses. And these horses have like these, they're just fucking unreal. And I just love it. I just think they're the coolest things out. And, yeah, if you can, and I just think Arabs don't tolerate fools. So if you think that you're going to go in, and it's like an Aussie digger, you know, like if you're an officer and you think you're just going to like go in there and just like tell these guys what the fuck they're going to do, they're going to be like, whatever, champ. And like, just do whatever the fuck they were doing anyways. Like, you know, but if you can be a really good leader and a really good boss and kind of inspire them to be better, and then they kind of come at you with like, they're like, yeah, okay. Like they just kind of, if you're a team with them, an Arab will die for you. Like an Arabian horse, they've been bred for fucking years, thousands of years, they will die for you. And it's just a partnership with a horse, which I really find, you know, there's really great horses out there. I started, obviously, like my background is sort of stock horses and quarter horses. And I love, like, a lot of people are like, oh, they're so arrogant. And I'm like, I love that. Like, just like, that's fine. Like the fact that they don't, you know, I can't just come along and be some stranger and just tell this horse what to do. They're like, whatever, man, whatever. Like, I don't, fuck off. I'm like, that's cool. I respect that. I think like I identify, there's that word again. I identify with that a little bit. You know, they're just like, don't tell me what to do. And, but if you work in with them and you create that respect, it's just a teamwork that I can't even really describe. And so when you're on them for these hours and hours, it cuts down to, I guess, that teamwork and that will to want to be there, because like by, you know, 80 Ks, you either want to win or you don't. And it is about managing your horse, and they will, like, it's like any animal, like you would find with your pig dogs, you can tell when they're fucking knocked up and you don't keep pushing them. You can tell when your horse is knocked up and you just sort of give him a break. And And you just learn, because there's a lot of kilometres ridden at home before you get to one of those events. So you know that animal really, really well. You have like a really awesome sense of each other. And you manage them, and you do it in legs. Like, you don't just go like 80K flat chat. It's all about the horse and his welfare, and you've got to come through, you do like a 40K leg, and then you'll vet through, and you go out and do another 40K leg. And the vetting is to make sure that the horse's welfare is being kept. He's not lame. His heartbeat has come down to, a certain amount per minute, and he's deemed fit to continue to race. Now, some of these guys that race these horses, those horses can get yucks if they gallop the whole way. Well, not exactly, but some of them get pretty fucking quick. They get really, really fit. And so it's pretty exciting. Like, I'm a bit of a rev head. Like, I love to go anywhere fast. And these horses, they don't poke along. Like, when you're being competitive and they're fit, they don't want to poke along. They're just like, they see another horse in front of him, 500, 400 meters down the track, and they want to go eat him. And I'm like, cool, let's go do that then. Like, yeah, you got like, yeah, I just love it. I kind of get caught up in it. And if anything, that'll be my learning, my working edge, I should say, is learning like where to temper that back and make sure that I'm managing, my teammate, and making sure that his enthusiasm to be in front isn't like coupled with my own enthusiasm to beat, and then, sort of knocking him up too quick, and making sure that I'm being the mature one, and being like, yeah, look, you've still got like 60 Ks to go, man. Just cool your jets. Like,
It's totally different. It's like, because like you think about motocross, for example, versus horse riding. Like, instead of dealing with a machine, you're dealing with a personality. Like
and they've got big personalities, yeah, and they're all different.
Yeah, that's is so great. I can really appreciate that, how it's not just a physical race, it's like a psychological race, that you're bonding with this animal that's got a personality of its own. That's just something else. Like, people that don't associate with horses, like that don't really know anything about what goes on, it's a totally different thing. It's crazy. It's nuts. Like, what else is there that's like that?
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's dogs are the same. Well, running dogs, each dog's different personality. Can run harder, or do something better.
I was just going to say, in relation to having a relationship with an animal, there's a blue heeler that's been kicking around in the background. That's another love of yours, Tash, your dog.
Can you see her on the lounge?
Oh, just chilling.
It's where they should be.
Assumed her position. She actually went for a 50. I took one of the horses out for a training ride today, and did like a solid 15K in him. Like, I trotted and cantered most of the way, so she's pretty tired. But that's Sappy dog. That's my little blue heeler, and yeah, she's awesome. Again, I think it's like, I don't like animals that are just like, kind of like real basic, and it's I'm sure like you guys would know, blue cattle dogs are real like one people kind of dogs usually, and they've got that, like, excuse my language, but they've got that bit of cunt about them, and I just I love that.
They do.
I'm like,
Definitely.
yeah, and I love it. I just think it's great. I don't know, I just really respect that in another animal. Like, maybe that's I see a bit of like identify with that or something. There's that word again, but yeah, I wouldn't know anything other than a cattle dog personally. But yeah, she's great. She's been awesome. I was really worried when I went to Canada that when I came back, the fella that I left her with, because I would always do whatever was best by her, and I'd kind of come to the terms within my head that she very well might need to stay with him. Like, if she had become attached to him by living with him for 6 months, if I felt that she really wanted to be there with him and had really bonded with him, then I would have just, I would have made me heartbroken, but I would have just accepted that and let her stay with him and given her to him. But, she slept on his bed every night, and he used to cook himself breakfast every morning, bacon and eggs, and she would have her plate on the floor as well. She got fucking spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah, really spoiled. And he used to take her for runs at the dam, and really, really looked after her really, really well, and I'm so grateful. But so I really thought I was going to have to give her to him when I got home. But when I got home, she didn't give a shit. She was whatever. Like, she just saw me at the gate, and that was it. Like, she didn't care. So, see you, mate. Thanks. Bye. And my mum's home.
Yeah, nice.
Just a cattle dog.
That's what you want out of a
That's
dog,
beautiful.
though, loyalty. That's definitely a good trait
They're amazing.
in dogs, definitely.
Yeah, they're just awesome. I love that. Yeah. And I was selfishly very fucking glad that she wanted to come home.
Oh, of course. Of course. That's the preferred option.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely.
Well, I think we're coming to a sort of natural end to the conversation, Tash, but something I have to ask you is like, if you go through your Instagram, you've got you can definitely see the cruiser, you can see the love of horses, you can see a bit of army in there, you can see your dog. And then there's also a bit of modelling and a bit of photography sort of stuff as well. Now, is that a passion of yours, or is that just something you've found yourself involved in?
Bit of column A, bit of column B. Like I have this real fear around getting to a point in my life at which point I can't go back and do anything differently, or I can't do it at that point anymore.
Yeah.
And I always had like an interest in modeling in terms of the creativity of it. I love creativeness. Like, and when you're working with a really cool photographer, like they are there because they're really creative as well. And it's just a lot of fun. Like I just have fun with it.
Yeah.
When I get like cool shit out of the shoot that I'm happy, I'll probably look at chasing up maybe an agent soon, but it's just not important to me. I just love doing my own thing. I like doing something unique. I like trying to cut through the noise, I guess, because there's a lot of the same shit, as you scroll, and it's all kind of same, and
Yeah.
which is awesome, and I love it, and I follow the same pages probably that a lot of you fellas do. But there's just something about women. Women are really there's just a real a beauty, like a feminine thing that women have that like would probably be quite hard to achieve with a man in a photo. Maybe I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we probably wouldn't look quite as good with a bunch of silvery green triangles stuck all over our body.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I think I can
know.
rock that shit.
But no, so
Give it a crack. If that's what you want to do, you do you, boo. Like,
we'll give it we'll give it a go. So
tell me how you go.
So it's just a very different outlet for you, is what you're saying, I guess.
Yeah, I just love it. It's just fun for me. Like and as I said, like I don't get wrapped up in what other people think. I just couldn't give a fuck. I just do me, and I just feel like I just try to be my most authentic self, and if that's just like exploring different things, and I'm also funny. Like I don't have a hang up about nudity. I just don't care. Like I'm like, oh my God, it's a body, like big deal. Some people get really wrapped up around the axles about nudity, and like, I don't know. I don't get it. That's cool, but I just don't care about it. I don't know. I don't think about it in the same way a lot of people do. Like it just doesn't really faze me. Almost like a European. You know how Europeans they just don't care?
Yeah, a lot more free and relaxed around it. Like it's just normal.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like that, I guess. Like I don't know. I'm just I'm just comfortable in my own skin, and I just do me, and I just do Tash things. And I guess if you have people that really enjoy the creativity of that, or the femininity that I sort of try to bring to that, then that's really cool. And I just think as long as you're your authentic self and you're just doing you will just naturally attract people into your space that are kind of aligned with you, if that makes sense. Like you find your tribe.
Yeah,
but if you're trying to be something that you're not, or you're not exploring a part of yourself that you really, want to, then you'll never know. Like it's, I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but you just do your own fucking thing, and then if people like it, great, and if they don't, then who cares?
Yeah.
So
Makes sense, yeah.
that's
That makes a heck of a lot of
I don't mean to be
sense.
so-
It's refreshing to
blunt
see
about
someone
it.
just chase their passions and not get caught up in the stigma of I've got to work 9 to 5 and
That's
this
what you
and that.
shouldn't be
It's good.
doing, really, isn't it? Like it's just you fucking do what you want. Like, it doesn't matter.
It's good.
really. Just do whatever you want. Do
You're
what
not
makes
going to
happy.
get that time back. You don't get time back. Time is, I think, to me, my opinion, more important than money. Like time is a commodity, and it's actually more valuable than money.
Yeah.
But you don't get it back. You can lose all of your money, and you can go and make money again. But if you lose your time doing shit that you don't fucking want to do, pleasing people that you actually don't even like, and I know that sounds so cliche, but it's just actually so true. You're wasting that, and that's your own fault.
Yeah.
And
you've got that choice.
you mentioned earlier that, and comes down to the time thing that we're all getting older. The older we get, we can't do the same things that we can at a certain age. So you lose the ability, you get old, your body gets weary or break.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in accord. I'm about to scoot off with my missus actually on a bit of a trip around Australia in a caravan and a nice cruiser.
Cool.
So we're gonna pop smoke. We were like, nah, we just need to go for it, So it's good to see.
And I really believe that. Hey, like it's just if you get an opportunity and you're like, oh, but it might like alter my career. As I said, like earlier, I'm the queen of leave without pay. Like it's because like if I have something kind of come across my plate, which seems to happen a lot, I just go do it. Like, because everyone kind of goes on about that dash. It's like, what are you doing with the dash between the two dates? And only you can control that. So just do whatever the fuck you want to do, and as long as you're not hurting other people, just do whatever makes you happy. Like far
That's
out.
it. At least you can say you've given something a crack, even if it didn't work out. At least you gave it a crack.
Yeah, as long as you enjoy it, go for it. Do it. Do your thing.
That's it.
100%. But I think, that's about all the questions I think we've got for you, Tash. Have you got anything you want to ask us?
Yeah, like how did you guys end up starting like a podcast? Like where does that come from? Where you're like, hey, let's do interviews and talk about what we love.
Alcohol. Lots and lots of alcohol. That's where it started.
They do say it's something you just do in your 30s. So you better watch out now. You might start a podcast. But
Is that a thing now? Like the podcast 30s?
yeah, like it's usually associated with being a white male and 30. You've got your own podcast and a bunch of other things. Anyway, that's beside the point. Look, it was my idea, and we've always listened to podcasts, and I sat there one day and we've always amongst us sort of always been looking for that thing to do as a collective that ties us together and gets us in the one spot, because as blokes, it's the worst to try and organise events. We're just disorganised as. So having something that we have to do and have to rock up to do just works for organising us. And I rang Josh one day and I said, why don't we do a podcast? As I was sitting there listening to a podcast on a long drive, we can talk. You've got plenty of stories. He's got a lot of experience from his time in the army, and then we've got plenty of hunting stories as well, and we all have the same interests. So why not talk about it and try and create a sense of community and hear other people's stories and just it's so interesting to hear what people are passionate about. I think that's the biggest thing.
I think we wanted to help build a better hunting community, but also cut down some of this tall poppy syndrome that happens in Australia, and lift people up as well.
Absolutely.
So, but above all, just have fun and be, as we've mentioned a few times on this podcast, be your authentic self. So we swear and carry on and are quite inappropriate and not politically correct at all at times, but that's who we are. And if people like that, then they'll listen. If they don't, then don't fucking listen. I don't give a shit.
I think if we had 10 listeners, we wouldn't give a shit if it was 10 listeners or 10,000. We'd still be doing the same thing. It's just like we're not here to be rich and famous, and we're not here just to make each other feel good. We're here because we're passionate about what we do. That's it.
And we need an excuse to get together and drink piss.
Well, before we had the podcast, we still did the same thing. So it was pretty much just carry on, man.
Yeah. And now we have a structure about doing
but more often.
Now if we rock up, we'll just start drinking without actually doing what we're supposed to have been done. We get crucified.
Yeah. It's
So yeah, no, it's good fun. We enjoy doing it, and people seem to enjoy listening to us yabber on like idiots. So hey,
Like we've met some phenomenal people like yourself, like people that have got some amazing stories that we're letting other people hear that and be inspired and understand that there is this vast fucking world out there that they can go and do shit. Like that's the biggest thing for me that I get out of this is meeting some crazy people with some crazy stories. Not to say that you're crazy, but just
Definitely
things that,
crazy.
Like I never, yeah, can't do that. But I never thought that I would be sitting down and having a conversation with someone that's done what you've done, just like as if you were sitting next to me and we're having a yarn and it reaching out to all the people that we reach out to. Like it is seriously humbling and I fucking hate that word, humbling. But what we do when I was a kid was like I hadn't even thought about any of that sort of thing. Like it just wasn't an option. But with technology advancements and that, all the stuff that we talked about previously, it's a hobby that we have that is awesome. I fucking love it.
I think part of it sort of stemmed with you rock up at some, properties we'd go hunt on or whatever, and the farmer would come out and sit around the campfire with you and have a yarn, and then you end up having this sometimes bizarre conversation with a stranger, and you just learn about their life and what they've done, and those are some of the best moments. It's a pity we can't have a big campfire in between us, but that's sort of the ethos behind what we like doing is talking to people and having those campfire sort of discussions, I guess. So yeah, that's how we came about, and things are growing and it's sort of snowballing, and we're having fun, and it's been a good ride so far. It's been about 18 months now, I think. So yeah,
it feels like a month.
It's gone quick.
Yeah, it's gone real quick.
That's your time management skills. Anyway, we do have to say a big thank you to you, Tash, for your time this evening. We're very, very generous with your time, and we've enjoyed it a lot. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast this evening.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. I hope it wasn't too boring. It wasn't about like super hunting and world's greatest kill or anything like that.
No. But that's what we wanted. We wanted a different perspective and something that somebody that we haven't necessarily had on before. So
it's what we want, and we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It's what we wanted, Tash. We wanted you on the podcast, and we don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. So there you go.
And I think, like, given that you're sort of in a transition period at the moment, we'll check in with you in a bit and see what you've got up to and see what you've managed to fill in with the 2 weeks and what you're.
Semi-retirement, like. What the fuck
oh no, it's a shift, mate. It's not like you're going off.
No,
to,
it's cool.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's the coolest. Like I'm not even going to work like half of the year and get paid more than what I'm being paid now. And I'm just like,
fucking oath.
Fuck yeah. Like bring it on.
Yeah, well, I mean, we love these stories. We had Josh from Jericho, Australia, on the podcast, and he very much the same sort of thing. He's transitioned out of the army to something he's passionate about, and it's really cool. We love those sort of stories. Yeah. So. Yeah, thanks again, Tash. And how can people find you if they want to have a look at your Instagram?
We'll just maybe just I guess link me on the thing, but I think it's like what is it _T_A S, et cetera, et cetera. It's like a bunch of underscores through Tash. And,
you made it too bloody hard for yourself, I reckon.
Yeah, really did. Or just look up Ken Oath Clothing, Ken Oath, which is owned by Desi, who is one of the coolest cats I've ever met. I just love Desi and his wife Dee. They're just a really cool bunch, and I work pretty closely with them doing their Ken Oath Clothing, and we just try to embody everything that's just that Australian, like capture that Australian ethos in clothing. And they're just a small Aussie business, and I model for them a little bit, and I'm just become really close friends with Desi and Dee, and they're really awesome. So if you jump on Ken Oath Clothing, you'll find me, I guess, and then a bunch of other really, really fucking cool people. So
what sort of clothing does Ken Oath put out?
Oh, mostly at the moment, we've got like t-shirts and hats and bumper stickers and some pretty cool stickers actually. Desi's really, really clever, and he takes like a lot of like kind of retro stuff, and then like stuff that we grew up seeing as kids, or stuff you saw around your parents' shed and that, and then he kind of creates.
Yeah, like
And
real
like
Australiana type stuff.
Yeah, but not in like an annoying
Not in like the tourist
like
gift shop sort of way. No, it's
yeah,
actually cool.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's quirky. There's usually like a play on words. It's a bit naughty. Yeah, we just
It's Australian
we just love
sense
it.
of humour for sure.
Well, look at the name of the company,
yeah.
Ken Oath. Like,
yeah, I know.
Yeah, Ken
Yeah.
Oath, yeah.
fucking
For
oath.
our overseas listeners, Ken Oath means fucking oath. That's
Yeah.
that's like a slang term for it.
Abbreviated something that's abbreviated.
And if
even
you don't know
more.
what fucking oath means, look it up in your dictionary.
Go take a long hard look at yourself.
And like- it's like a really solid way of saying yes.
Exactly.
Hard yes.
All right, well, let's wrap this thing up. Again, Tash, thank you very much for being on the podcast. And we'll keep
Thanks
in
so
touch.
much for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I really
thank you.
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Excellent. No worries. All right. Well, we'll be back next week with another episode, Centre Mate Podcast.
And stay tuned because we're fucking awesome and you guys are listening. So it's a thing now.
Righto, dude and dudettes. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And hit us up, Send It Mate Podcast on the Instagrams. We're on Facebook. We're on everywhere. Tell your friends, tell your girlfriends, tell your boyfriends, tell everyone. Woo!
Catch ya.
G'day, dude and dudettes. Josh here. Do you find it hard to keep your long, hard barrels free from gun STDs? Maybe you need a clean out of your bore. If this is you, jump on over to highcaliber.com.au and use the promo code SENDITMATE to receive a 10% discount on all your gun cleaning needs. And remember, it's sexy to support Australian-made products. Everyone here at Send It Mate uses high caliber, and we can promise you that it'll keep your firearms free from those pesky gun STDs.